Hello， 大家好啊！我係 Barbarossa， 咁我旁邊呢位咧係香港玉器商會嘅推廣主任 Eric， 我哋兩位係今日嘅司儀，咁歡迎大家咧參加我哋而家開始嘅獅年咧嘅琥珀同埋玉石講座。今日咧我哋喺現場咧都好開心邀請到我哋波蘭駐香港嘅總領事 Mr Alexander Danda， 同埋 Artisan Member Limited Managing Director Miss Alicia Kelly， 仲有 Amber Expert 嘅創辦人 Mr Michael Kosior，同埋我哋香港玉器商會嘅會長羅志光先生，仲有格坦斯克美術學院嘅 Professor Slawomir Pioski， 同埋我哋周大福珠寶集團嘅董事總經理、企業及港澳與海外事務嘅黃兆基先生，同埋一眾嘅波蘭設計師，同埋我哋 Loop 嘅駐場設計師啦，同埋各商會嘅機構領導，同埋各大院校嘅學生咧，喺我哋今次唔同嘅平台同埋社交渠道，包括我哋有轉落博、Facebook、Zoom， 同我哋一齊探討研究我哋今晚嘅玉石同琥珀，歡迎各位。
Hello everyone, my name is Eric. I represent the Hong Kong Jade Association. Next to me here is Barbarossa. He is with Loop. We are your MCs for today's event, Entwined, the Amber and Jade Seminar. Thank you all of you for joining us here today, as we have many guests of honors. So to begin, allow me a few minutes to introduce you to their titles and names. First of all, we have the Polish Consul General of Hong Kong, Mr. Alexander Danda, Managing Director of Artis Amber Limited, Ms. Alicia Kelly, Founder of Amber Expert, Mr. Michael Kosior, President of the Hong Kong Jade Association, Mr. Lao Chi Kwong, Academy of Fine Arts Gdansk, Professor Slawomir Wielkowski, Managing Director, Corporate and Hong Kong, Macau, and Overseas of Chow Tai Fook Jewelry Group, Mr. Kent Wong. Also here with us today are the Polish designers, the Loop's residents, designers, leaders, and representatives from various associations and groups. Last but not least, we also have students and teachers from design schools and universities. And everyone that's tuned in here live with us here today from other online social media platforms such as GZDE Live, Facebook, and Zoom. Thank you all of you for being here with us today.
Thank you, Eric. 咁我哋而家有請咧嘅嚟緊呢個環節咧，我哋就不如有請我哋周大福珠寶集團嘅董事總經理、企業及港澳與海外事務嘅黃兆基先生，為我哋簡單分享幾句，為我哋今日嘅活動打開席幕。有請幾個。
Now, without further ado, let us invite the Managing Director, Corporate and Hong Kong Macau Overseas of Chow Tai Fook Jewelry Group to start us off here today with his speech. Please welcome Mr. Kent Wong.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, dear Polish Consul General in Hong Kong, Mr. Alexander Danda, and all honorable guests. We are honored that Loop will have its first ever cooperation with all different parties to hold Entwined, Amber and Jade event. Loop has always been aiming to help nurture young people and emerging designers. We also aim to let more people can appreciate and understand amber and jade, so that why we have the theme on jade and amber. For this project, we must give a big hand to thank Ms. Alicia Kelly. She has been supporting the development of Loop since the establishment in 2018. She loves to promote ambers and events to the mainland China. For example, in 2019, she cooperated with the International Amber Association to hold the exhibition Hi-Fi Crossover with IAA project. Ms. Alicia Kelly has put a lot of efforts for Entwined, Amber and Jade event, connect all parties to the events and exhibitions. In addition, I would like to thank all parties for their cooperation in organizing this event, including Mr. Alexander Danda, Polish Consul General of Hong Kong, Mr. Michael Kosior, founder of Amber Experts, Ms. Alicia Kelly, Managing Director of Artis Amber Limited, Mr. Wu Chi Huta, Stellarium Amber Mine, Gdański Cutting Factory, Professor Slavomir Fujikoski, Academy of Fine Art Blansky, Mr. Luo Qigong, President of Hong Kong J Association, our colleagues, of course, Chow Tai Fook Master Studio, look designers and craftsmanship. They all have given their great support to this project. Hong Kong is also putting jade jewelry into another new era and is planning the implementation of jade grading and certification, further establish international grading standard for universal jade quality standards. I hope you will pay close attention to the event, Amber and Jade event, and hopes to make new milestone for the jewelry industry. We all wish every success for this event. Thank you very much.
好，多謝基哥嘅分享。而家咧就等我為大家以廣東話重溫一次啱啱嘅內容啦。各位嘉賓，今次 Loop 好榮幸可以各方各界與大家互相交流，合作舉辦獅年嘅琥珀及玉石活動。由周大福珠寶集團成立 Loop， 一直以嚟都係以協助培育年輕人同新進設計師為目標。我哋亦希望可以令到更多人欣賞同埋了解琥珀及玉石，所以今日就舉辦咗呢一個活動及展覽。為咗今天嘅項目，首先我哋一定要多謝 Miss Alicia Kelly， 佢由 Loop 成立以嚟，喺2018年開始就一直鼎力支持 Loop 嘅項目。Alicia 非常之熱愛同推動琥珀，甚至將佢推動至中國內地。例如喺2019年，佢連同國際琥珀協會一齊推廣，主辦咗一個展覽，名為 High Five Crossover IAA。今次 Alicia 為咗獅年展覽付出咗好多嘅努力，不但聯繫波蘭協會、礦場，以至打磨工廠、學院同埋歐洲各地展出，連同今日呢個講座，出咗非常之多嘅努力。咁喺呢一度再一次感謝大家所有嘅朋友，多得各方各界所有嘅鼎力支持，先至可以共同協助推動到年輕人設計嘅發展。事實上，香港亦正為玉器推向另一個新時代，包括進一步為翡翠品質標準建立認證，邁向國際化。希望各位繼續留意今次獅年嘅活動及琥珀玉石，更希望大家可以為行業推動新里程。最後，我哋祝賀一次，大家可以希望為今日嘅項目圓滿成功發展。多謝大家。
好多謝基哥嘅分享啊！咁我哋而家接下來呢個環節咧，我哋有請我哋波蘭駐港嘅總領事 Mr Alexander Danda 咧，為我哋大家簡單分享幾句。
Next, we now invite the Polish Consul General of Hong Kong, Mr. Alexander Danda, to share with us a few words. Please welcome Mr. Alexander Danda.
Honorable Director Wang, Honorable Professor Fiałkowski, distinguished speakers, Mr. Luo Qigong, Mr. Michael Kosior, dear Alicia, who's already back with us in Hong Kong, but still in quarantine. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure and anticipation that I come today for this webinar dedicated to the project Entwined, which brings together promising jewelry designers from Poland and Hong Kong. What is more, this project does not only bring the people together to work on a shared common goal, it also brings together and reformulates the centuries-old traditions of jewelry making. It brings together the signature materials used for making jewelry in Poland and in China, namely jade and amber. In that meaning, this project is truly about post-pandemic reviving and reformulating the tradition of East meets West policy, which has been so crucial to Hong Kong so far. It is also especially telling that this revival takes place with Poland as a partner of choice for Hong Kong. You may not know that here in Hong Kong, but Poland is also known as a place situated on the crossroads of civilizations. The East meets West place, but in Europe. In that respect, both Poland and Hong Kong jewelry designers fit perfectly together. You are proper partners for the revival of cultural connections between our two civilizations. You are the willing bridge builders who are so few in contemporary world, as opposed to wall constructors who are unfortunately so numerous these days. With this beginning, for I dare hope that this project is just the beginning of a continuous fruitful relationship between Poland's and Hong Kong's jewelry design sector. You are starting to build this bridge together, and as you build it, you will let others cross this bridge together with you. And since this bridge will be built with jade, the material known for its durability, and amber, from the ancient times believed to possess protective powers against disease and destruction, you should be proud that we are not building a house of cards, but that we are building a solid structure, a structure which, with proper care, may last for many years to come. Thank you for your attention.
Senator Danda, thank you for the speech. 咁而家就簡單用廣東話啦，同大家講講頭先Mr Danda 嘅對我哋嘅呢個支持啦。咁Mr Danda 提到話，咁呢個係一個好榮幸啦，同我哋一個東方同西方文化一個碰撞一個交流。咁而且波蘭亦都係對於喺香港嘅一個或者呢個貿易上啊，或者好多唔同文化嘅或者設計上面嘅交流咧，佢亦都感受到好深嘅感觸嘅。咁亦都對於次次我哋呢個絲連啲琥珀同埋呢個玉器嘅交流咧，係代表到一個 exactly 就係一個東西文化一啲唔同嘅傳承嘅一個交流。咁當然係對於琥珀呢個 material 嚟講咧，呢個物質嚟講，呢個物料嚟講咧，其實喺古代咧代表一啲係一啲守護嘅石嚟嘅，即係當避開一啲唔好嘅嘢啊，或者一啲破壞嘅嘢，咁係對係啲護身符咁樣。咁相對嚟講，同對於玉器喺我哋東方嘅意義咧，係有相同嘅一啲嘅意義嘅。咁次我哋呢個展覽啦，亦都係透過喺珠寶 design 即係好多唔同嘅文化上啦嘅創意，就好似一個中西文化交流，咁令到呢個咧係重新一個復興翻，好似以前一啲唔同嘅商業上啊或者文化上嘅交流等等嘅。咁亦都透過今次呢個重新嘅活化項目啦，亦都去到期待見到更加多嘅唔同嘅當代嘅珠寶啊，或者除咗珠寶上或者文化上等等唔同嘅項目啊類型上，想更加加深我哋東西文化，甚至係香港、中國同埋波蘭嘅交流嘅。Thank you。咁好啦，我哋而家緊接落嚟呢個環節咧，我哋就有請我哋嘅 Amber Expert 嘅創辦人 Mr Michael Kosior， 我哋大家介紹翻 Amber Expert 嘅背景，有請。
So thank you, everyone. At this time, let us invite the founder of Amber Expert, Mr. Michael Kosior, to share with us an introduction to his work. Please welcome Mr. Michael.
你好。The Amber Experts follows the idea of connecting amber aficionados, discovering the secrets of amber, providing commercial amber tests, and making the gold of amber the gold of the Baltic known worldwide. Amber Experts provides identification of amber, fossil resins, amber simulants, valuation of amber jewelry, and raw amber. Amber Experts provides also tailored amber training courses. Amber Experts represent the jewelry and gemstone trade exhibitions from Beijing, Bangkok, and Shanghai. The contacts continuously built for over 20 years allow us to connect with many global institutions and business. Follow us on blog and Instagram to know.
Thank you, Mr. Ko, for sharing about Amber Expert. I would like to recap below in Chinese for our audience. 咁好啦，咁多謝頭先Mr Michael 就同我哋介紹咗佢嘅 Amber Expert 啦。咁我而家都用中文同大家講頭先Mr Michael 講嘅一啲嘅嘢。咁其實 Amber Expert 咧就係一直以嚟都係一個 network for 好多唔同嘅業界嘅一啲琥珀嘅發燒友嘅。咁咧幫佢哋咧揾咗好多唔同嘅關於琥珀嘅一啲來歷嘅秘密啦，或者一啲唔同嘅商業嘅琥珀嘅測試啊。 因為呢個係一個琥珀對於佢哋嚟講係一個波羅的海嘅黃金啊。咁係呢個係全世界都好知名，亦都享負盛名嘅。咁 Amber Expert 咧透過唔同對於喺業界入邊咧，佢會提供翻啲唔同嘅琥珀嘅認證啦，同埋一啲嘅模擬翻佢點樣生產啊，或者一啲去量度翻嗰個琥珀嘅價值啊等等。無論係喺原材料即係 raw 嘅 amber 上面啦，或者一啲即係成咗品嘅 amber 上面，佢哋都會有一啲唔同嘅服務可以提供俾到嘅。咁亦都Amber Expert 亦都會即為大家設計咗好多唔同嘅一啲琥珀嘅物料一啲嘅講座啊，或者training嘅 course 啦，俾公眾去參加嘅喎。咁亦都透過呢啲咁嘅項目啦，即係譬如珠寶上面或者呢啲咁嘅唔同嘅玉器嘅一啲交流啦，佢哋之前亦都係曾經喺我哋 Asia Pacific 即係遠東嘅呢位置，譬如北京啊、曼谷啊或者上海等等咧，都搞過一啲唔同類型嘅展覽嘅，咁令到大家加深咗對波羅的海黃金琥珀呢個認識，係啦。咁嚟緊咧，佢哋其實都喺呢個業界度都服務咗超過20年㗎啦。咁相信佢哋都會喺琥珀上面都好有專業嘅意識嘅。咁亦都會令到佢哋更加繼續拓展喺全世界性嘅業務。咁咧，如果大家想對 Amber Expert 有更多認知同了解咧，可以上翻佢哋嘅網站啦，或者佢哋嘅 Instagram 咧，可以留意翻更加多嘅資訊嘅。多謝各位。
Thank you, Mr. Michael Kosior, for your speech. At this time, allow me to give you all an introduction to the Hong Kong Jade Association. I will first speak in Cantonese and then once more again in English, as we try our best to make today's event as bilingual as much as possible. 嚟緊我會為大家介紹一下關於我哋少少玉器喺香港嘅發展啦，同埋關於我哋玉器商會嘅資料。每一段資料咧，我會先以廣東話講一次，然後再以英文再講。玉器行業喺香港大概由50年代時候開始講起啦。當時有好多嘅玉器商人嘅工作坊師傅從中國內地遷移到香港，而佢哋嚟到香港嘅時候都選擇咗聚居於九龍佐敦區一帶嘅廣東道。附近嘅店鋪連同路邊嘅檔攤都擺滿晒玉器嘅商品，除此仲有大廈樓上嘅單位，全部都進駐咗好多嘅玉石師傅嘅工作室啊、切玉石嘅地方。整個範圍就被行家叫做玉器街啦。佢最後都成為一個玉石及原料及商品嘅批發中心。咁基本上當時喺成個亞洲或者全世界入邊，只要想做玉器採購嘅行家啦，都一定會嚟到呢條玉器街。而去到全盛時期嘅大概1990年代啦，經由玉器街所供應嘅玉器貨品佔全球供應達到80%或以上。The jade industry in Hong Kong began about in the 1950s, when many of the jade merchants and craftsmen relocated from China into Hong Kong. Incidentally, many of them chose to gather in the same area here and began calling it Jade Street. At the time, all the shops were filled with jade products, and even the streets were filled with stalls, which you can see in the pictures. And literally, it became a street known as Jade, with jade products everywhere. And even inside the building units above, there were many jade cutting workshops, and everything together just naturally became a hub for the jade trade. Merchants at this time from all over the world would come here to Jade Street in Hong Kong to make their purchases. And at the peak of 1990s, the products coming out of Jade Street contributed to over 80% of the global jade supply. 咁我哋香港玉器商會啦，就大概喺1974年就已經開始成立，運行咗好多年。咁嚟到呢度咧，我都講翻啲比較近況啲一啲嘅事項同大家分享一下啦。喺05年嘅時候，我哋商會同香港政府協力之下，將呢一個地段正式名為玉器街，主要都係為咗推廣旅遊事項嘅幫助啦。而去到09年，我哋香港玉器商會拆下巨資，從緬甸直接採購咗一個非常之龐大嘅玉石，大概有4000公斤重咁多。咁喺照片上面，你哋都會睇到嗰個好大嘅玉石，就係而家屬於喺我哋玉器街嘅一個地標之一啦。而最後 我哋玉器商會為咗令到玉器嘅買賣能夠更加順暢同順利，我哋發展咗一樣名為天然翡翠標誌嘅座牌。大家喺買賣嘅時候，只要認住呢個標誌咧，就可以唔會怕買到有任何假貨啦。The Hong Kong Jade Association was founded in 1974 and has operated for many years since, serving its members and community. Today, I will focus mainly more on the recent events that has happened to highlight its achievements. In 2005, together with the Hong Kong government, we officially named the area to be called Jade Street. This movement was mainly for the purpose of promoting tourism. And in 2009, our association purchased a 4,000 kilogram jade stone, which you see in the picture, the second picture here on the screen. This was purchased directly from Myanmar and placed on our street as a landmark. Last but not least, our association developed a natural jade trademark. This, which you can see on the photos on the right, the purpose of this is to help businesses identify themselves as genuine jade suppliers so that businesses can be conducted more smoothly with confidence. 好啦，講到呢度最後一張 slide 啦。咁關於我哋玉器商會嘅宗旨啦，咁呢度我都同大家總結一下啦。我哋商會咧，首要事項就要積極咁推廣玉器行業嘅發展，希望可以為會員營造更好嘅商業環境，亦要靠透過與唔同各界人士嘅交流，去增加商會嘅影響力。而最終嘅目標，希望能夠提升大家對玉器行業嘅認知，令到行業可以有健康持續嘅發展。多謝大家。This here is the final slide to our introduction to the Hong Kong Jade Association. Allow me to summarize for you the mission statements of our association. This includes to actively promote the jade industry, ensuring for a good business environment for our members to conduct business, to engage with all relevant parties, thereby increasing the influence of the association, and last but not least, to help strengthen members of our society towards a better understanding of the jade industry through various media activities and events. Thank you all for your time.
好 ，thank you， 唔該晒 Eric。咁好係啦，我哋而家嚟緊喺正式開始我哋研討會之前咧，等我哋介紹我哋，不如我哋今日而家身處呢個直播場地咯，我哋叫 Loop。咁其實 Loop 咧係由周大福珠寶集團喺 PMQ 呢個空間創立嘅培育空間嚟嘅。咁我哋專門就為係珠寶設計啦同埋工藝而設嘅一笪地方嚟嘅。咁而且透過我哋嘅核心計劃，我哋有一個設計師駐場計劃嘅 Designer in Residency Program。咁我哋呢個計劃入邊咧就會引入咗好多唔同資深嘅業界專家，咁嚟悉心咧指導翻我哋新進嘅設計人才。咁亦都會舉行好多唔同嘅工作坊啦，俾大眾參與。咁呢個地方係志在咧為咗我哋設計師同埋一啲工藝師咧提供一個可以接觸大眾嘅一個平台。咁亦都咧順帶一提，呢度咧定期會舉辦咗唔同嘅一系列嘅展覽啦，同埋工作坊咧開放俾大眾參與嘅。Before we get started of our seminar today, let me introduce a little bit about our venue now sitting in. Loop is a design incubation space in PMQ, Hong Kong, founded by Chow Tai Fook Jewelry Group in 2018. As a platform for local and international designers and artisans, we aim to engage with the general public through our retail platform, public education and workshop seminars. Focusing mainly on our jewelry making and design, Loop is dedicated to nurturing of young talents with its in-house design residency program, as well as public workshop led by the industry professionals. 所以咧，今次我哋咧呢個師年講座啦，我哋都係為咗令到更加多嘅唔同珠寶設計師啦，可以認識到唔同嘅類型嘅珠寶材質啦。咁並且我哋可以令到喺呢個材質上面就可以善加活用，咁可以創造咗唔同更加多嘅特色嘅珠寶。
So the purpose of our seminar today is to help everyone here learn and understand better about the different types of jewelry materials that are available out there. Specifically for today will be amber and jade. And hopefully relevant to those who are here with us today, you will be able to use them to create magnificent jewelry pieces, which we will see hopefully in the future.
好啦，事不宜遲，我哋入翻我哋嘅主題啦。咁我哋有請翻我哋 Mr Michael Kosior 為我哋介紹翻我哋琥珀講座呢部分，有請。
Let us begin our seminar today. Please welcome Mr. Michael Kosior of Amber Expert.
Welcome again. Please change the slide. I would like to start with a question. Is amber really unique? And probably you will answer. None of other gemological materials present us a picture of life. On the slide you can see a fly. But does anybody see two mites, arachnids, riding on the fly's tail? Can change the slide. Please pay attention to the thin hairy legs of the mites. This is the scene none other material can present than amber. Mites are predators, so we can see them during the meal, eating the fly, or maybe during the travel, or both. This scene lasts for tens of millions of years. Just imagine that stone set in the jewelry.
咁呢度啦，我都為大家翻譯一下頭先 Mr Michael 所講過嘅嘢啦。波羅的海琥珀，佢其中最特別之處咧，就係其實被譽為能夠見證大自然與人類歷史嘅一種寶石。喺眾多寶石之中，就只有佢能夠捕捉到生命嘅一刻。喺相片之中啦，大家可以見到一隻長腳嘅蚊同嘅昆蟲，而喺頭先呢啲箭嘴嗰度啦，其實唔知大家睇唔睇到啦，就有兩隻蟲滿嘅昆蟲黐住咗喺佢嘅後邊。一啲咁微妙嘅情景，係只有琥珀先至會可以幫我哋見證到呢一刻嘅。咁大家都可以想像下，如果當用呢種物料放咗喺珠寶上面，會做咗幾咁特別同獨特嘅首飾出嚟。
In this brief presentation, I would like to explain why Baltic amber, which is constantly present in the jewelry and wines East and West, different cultures and different times.
好啦，咁我哋今日啦，主要講嘅琥珀，會集中都係波羅的海出產嘅琥珀，同埋我哋會再講一講點解佢哋有啲咩咁獨特之處啦。
Baltic amber has been known since the Stone Age. It is a fragile and soft stone, probably the very first one used only for cultural purposes, for decoration. Contains the succinic acid. It is a very important for body cells chemical compound. Has later been mined in incredible amounts. For thousands of years, people mined and gathered hundreds of tons. Has the largest spectrum of colors. There is more than 100 in Polish language, more than 100 folk names for amber colors different from white to black.
咁波羅的海琥珀啦，其實佢喺石器時代時期都已經出現㗎啦。喺古人嗰陣時用作裝飾用途，佢當作有着佢入邊有琥珀酸，就係啱啱slide 上面見到嘅英文化學名 succinic acid。佢屬於一種對人體細胞有好處嘅好重要嘅一樣化學物質。波羅的海琥珀有數千年以上嘅大量被開採嘅歷史，而佢嘅顏色有好多種，超過100種咁多嘅，由白色到黑色都有。
In general, term amber means a fossil resin more than 1 million years old. We can find more than 200 deposits of different resins, fossilized resins, all over the planet. Baltic amber is fossilized resin of coniferous trees from the Paleogene period, and it is dated back to more than 45 million years.
一般嚟講啦，琥珀嘅定義就係超過100萬年前成形嘅化石樹枝，而樹枝就係樹嘅分泌之一。目前喺地球上被人所揾到嘅超過有100種唔同嘅化石樹枝，而波羅的海嘅琥珀係屬於遠古第3時期中嘅針葉樹所分泌出嚟嘅一種樹枝 化石化之後嘅嘢。佢嘅年份大概可以追溯到大概4500年前到。
As I said, Baltic amber is fossilized resin of coniferous trees, pine trees. Scientists suspect the mother tree of the Baltic amber was similar to umbrella pine you can see now in, for example, Japan. These forests may have appeared more than 45 million years ago and had grown for 10 million years. The climate was warm and humid. We know this from the insects found in summer, like cockroaches or mantis.
波羅的海生產出自由波嘅琥珀森林啦，就係我哋圖片見到構成嘅一個影像呢度啦。佢係喺松樹嘅化石樹枝出嚟嘅。據專家所講，波羅的海琥珀源自於雨傘松樹 （umbrella pine） 嗰度嘅。早達喺4500年前已經出現，並且喺地球生長咗超過1000年以上。因為呢一啲琥珀中發現到嘅昆蟲，所以當時咧，而家嘅科學家認為推斷到佢嗰陣時嘅氣候係屬於溫暖同潮濕嘅。
The forest in which the amber-bearing trees grew occupied an ancient continent called Fennoscandia. Over millions of years, erosion has caused the resin to flow into the rivers and deposited in the delta at the bottom of the shallow sea. This deposit is now located under the Gdańsk Bay. You can see the contour map of Europe under the colored map.
波羅的海琥珀樹嘅生長咧，喺一個名為 Fennoscandia 嘅古老大陸。經過數百年前嘅時間，大自然嘅力量令到樹枝流入河流，並最後沉積在海底部分嘅海底嘅三角洲之中啦。而呢個礦場而家咧就係至今位於嘅 Gdańsk Bay 之下邊嗰度。
Late Paleogene volcanic activity was related to the movement of the Earth's crust. The cloud of ash fell on amber forests, coated the leaves, branches, and tree trunks. The trees defended themselves and began to release resin.
咁呢度講解一下啦，點解啲樹木會產生出咁大量嘅樹枝？其實喺嗰陣時嘅古第3世紀晚期嘅時代啦，喺Fennoscandia 嘅大陸嗰陣時，當佢嗰段時刻準備分裂嘅時候，因為佢嘅分裂係由呢個地殼移動所產生，令到好多頻密嘅火山活動，令到當其時出現咗好多嘅火山灰，而呢一啲灰咧就覆蓋咗喺樹林附近嘅一帶樹林身上。樹林為咗要自衛保護佢自己嘅樹幹啦，就開始咗釋放好多嘅樹枝出嚟。
Now something about amber properties. Amber is not a stone. It is organic in origin. The latest nomenclature says it's biogenic material. Mineralogical name for Baltic amber is succinite. This name results from ancient story that amber is a sap of the tree. In Latin, sap means succus. Amber is a mixture of more than 100 macro and micromolecular compounds and their products. It is like a polymer structure. The chemical structure of amber is not homogeneous. Amber does not have a regular molecular structure. Amber structure is also not crystalline. It is amorphous, like a glass. You can cut it in any direction.
喺結構上，波羅的海嘅琥珀，佢並唔係一種礦物，佢係一種屬於有機嘅物質。佢嘅礦物學名名為琥珀石 succinite。佢嘅起源來自於拉丁文之中，樹嘅分泌喺拉丁文叫做 succus。咁琥珀嘅結構咧，其實所謂係叫做聚合物嘅結構，由超過100多種唔同嘅大細嘅分子化合物質所造成。琥珀其實佢係冇一個規定嘅分子結構嘅，佢係唔係一個結晶體，結構係屬於不定型， 可以喺任何方向作出切割嘅。
Amber is light. It's very light. A piece of amber weighs about half of the same size rock. Specific gravity is just a little bit above 1 gram per cubic centimeter. In fresh water, amber sinks to the bottom. In concentrated salt solution, it will float. Therefore, in winter, waves in the water that are denser carry amber from the bottom of the sea and throw ashore. It is also one of the methods to distinguish amber from the imitation plastics.
至於密度方面啦，波羅的海琥珀咧其實係非常之輕嘅，佢嘅體重咧就只有同佢一樣大細嘅石頭嘅一半度。佢嘅體積重喺1厘米立方嘅琥珀比重為1.05至到1.09克啦。咁呢個比重咧其實就係大概係等於鹹水同淡水之間嘅。咁就係因為呢一種特點啦，佢當喺淡水之中咧，佢就係會沉澱嘅。但喺鹹水之中咧，佢就係會浮上嚟嘅。咁呢一樣嘢咧，就可以幫助我哋做一個類似分同一啲仿藝嘅琥珀，用塑膠做嘅仿藝品做一個測試咁樣啦。
Amber is also not rock hard. Hardness on the Mohs scale is from 2 to 2.5. It can be easily scratched. Amber is easy to drill, sew, grind, polish. Early humans could carve and polish it during very simple stone and bone tools.
喺硬度方面啦，琥珀大概係 Mohs 嘅2至2.5度，係非常之容易切割同打磨嘅。咁當時喺遠古時代啦，原始人咧都會利用石頭或者骨頭之類嘅工具去同佢做雕刻啊，或者係做打磨嘅。
Amber burns owing to its composition of various organic substances. It burns with a bright, sooty flame, emitting black smoke and diffusing a pleasant smell reminiscent of pine resin. Once you will polish it, you will remember the smell forever. The German word for amber is Bernstein, which is literally burn stone.
當琥珀燃燒着嘅時候啦，佢就會出現有煙燻嘅火焰，並且呢一個煙燻咧就會帶有松樹香嘅味道。咁頭先Michael講過啦，就喺一個製作過程，打磨師傅咧，當佢做過一次嘅打磨，就會聞到呢一個味道，係永遠都唔會忘記嘅一個味道。咁另外咧就係有趣一件事，想同大家講講啦。琥珀喺德文入邊咧就叫做 Bernstein， 咁佢嘅直接譯嘅意思咧就等於係燃燒嘅石頭。
Ancient Greeks called amber electron, from which the word electricity originates. Even today, Arabic word for amber is very similar to word electricity. When wrapped against wool or silk, it becomes electrostatically charged and will attract scraps of paper, for example.
琥珀啦就屬於係帶有電子嘅物質，當佢同羊毛或者絲質嘅物質摩擦之後咧，就會產生帶有靜電嘅。
是但一個名，唔知個邊個。
當佢帶有靜電嘅時候咧，就會吸引到附近紙碎嘅現象。
Baltic amber is called a living stone. Amber colors are not a permanent feature. We can observe color changes over the time. Starting from the surface, they darken. They become more intense and more saturated. We call a naturally darkened color antique amber.
琥珀啦就有被譽為一個活生生嘅寶石咁樣嘅，佢喺隨住時間嘅時候會改變顏色啦，由表面層會開始轉為較為深色嘅。咁呢種天然產生嘅琥珀啦，就會被深色咗嘅琥珀啦，就會被業界界定為係古董級別嘅琥珀。
Now about size matters. Amber appears in specimens lower than 1 gram, up to pieces of 10 kilos. Like most of gems, most are small pieces. Only 15% of mine output is suitable for jewelry production. On the right, you can see the biggest recorded piece of amber. It weighs almost 10 kilos.
喺尺寸方面啦，天然開採嘅琥珀大概有由1克去到10公斤嘅尺寸不等啦。佢同其他寶石一樣，大部分開採到嘅體積都比較稍為細小咁樣嘅。咁而開採出嚟嘅琥珀啦，大概都只有15%係適合用於珠寶製作過程之中嘅。咁喺圖片右手邊啦，就會大家睇到一個係大概有10公斤重以上嘅琥珀原材料。呢一件原材料啦，而家就係收藏喺呢個柏林自然博物館之中做展覽嘅。
Amber is never found in shapeless or accidental forms. Natural shapes of amber produced by resin secretions, both inside and outside of the tree trunk, are related to the physics of wood.
喺形態上咧，琥珀其實係唔會出現所謂嘅隨機性不定型嘅。咁呢個意思咧係咩咧？其實琥珀嘅形成嘅形狀咧係會同樹嘅物理條件有關嘅。例如當琥珀喺樹枝同樹幹之中，同一時間喺佢嘅分泌出嚟嘅時候咧，所產生出嚟嘅情況之下，就會出現呢一種現象。
And please go to previous one. And if you see the secret, the resin, it's just in between of layers of wood. So this is the reason why most of amber pieces are flat.
咁頭先Michael想同大家再提一提啦，喺呢張相見到嘅嗰個琥珀咧，就係喺樹幹同樹皮之間同一時間嘅分泌出嚟嘅時候形成嘅。咁就係因為咁樣嘅形態之中咧，佢嘅背面後邊咧係會有一個平面喺度嘅。
Internal forms did not separate from the tree until the wood had decayed. Most of the amber pieces and the largest ones found so far belong to this group.
咁另外啦，仲有喺樹幹入邊所形成嘅琥珀啦，屬於 internal form 呢一種啦。咁佢一般咧都係需要等到樹木完全腐化先至會同木頭分離嘅。大部分比較大嘅原材料嘅琥珀都係屬於呢一種形態所被發掘出嚟嘅。
The pieces that form inside the tree trunk are in filling of cavities, which often have a flat shape due to the physics of wood, as I told. They are usually flat and opaque and do not contain any inclusions.
咁喺呢一度再見到一個自然內部形態嘅例子啦。咁大家見到咧，嗰琥珀咧就喺個木頭入邊嘅縫嗰度所產生形成形態出嚟嘅。咁喺呢一種形態出現嘅時候咧，佢就底部咧嘅原材料都會相比起比較平穩咁樣，而唔會有任何嘅雜質啊或者物件可以入到去嘅。
Of course, on that picture, it was contemporary resin pocket in a pine wood. Now, something about external forms. The layers are formed by successive resin flows from a single source, their sticky surface acting as a fly trap. Most of the inclusions, therefore, are to be found on the boundaries between two flows.
好啦，喺呢一度咧，咁我哋就講到另外一種形態，就屬於係外部形態而形成嘅琥珀啦。咁一般呢一啲琥珀咧都會係透明嘅，而佢嘅琥珀咧係會包含有機會包含到有機嘅物質啊，即係好似昆蟲類或者係一啲植物會被佢嗰個黏性嘅樹枝所trap 咗喺入邊，最終就係成為一個一齊嘅固體咁樣啦。
External forms are usually transparent. Only these forms contain animal and plant inclusions.
咁頭先所解釋嘅外部形態所形成嘅琥珀啦，咁呢度相片嗰度啲圖嗰度大家都可以睇到，就係有一啲係有昆蟲嘅 example 啦，同埋都會可以發現到有植物喺入邊，都係屬於透明類嘅琥珀。
Layeret amber forms when the resin is secreted in the intervals and flows over previously dried layers. This is visible especially in UV light, as you see on the picture.
咁一層壓式形成嘅琥珀啦，係經過長年累月嘅時間所造成嘅。咁當喺 UV light 燈曬落去嗰陣時，我哋就會睇到佢好似喺圖片呢一度啦嘅 example 啦嘅一層層嘅結構咁樣。
The surface of the nugget of Baltic amber is called a skin, a bark. The color there is darker than the inside. This is caused by the weathering process, which started on the surface and it was brought about by warmth, light, and humidity. It is worth discovering what color is inside.
喺呢個圖片啦，我哋見到啦係一個石春形狀嘅波羅的海琥珀入邊啦，咁佢嘅外部咧就會相比入邊較為深色嘅。咁原因咧就係經過天然大自然嘅風化、月光啊同唔同嘅濕度所影響，令到佢出邊嘅顏色同入邊有所唔同。
Today we can see the effect of the resin transformation and conditions in which amber was hidden for millions of years. Baltic amber appears in a wide variety of colors. Like 100 folk names, we can know more than 200 colors. There is no two the same Baltic amber nuggets.
喺呢一度啦，我哋都睇到其實琥珀咧有好多唔同顏色嘅形狀啊、形態可以出嚟嘅。咁佢嘅顏色咧有多達大概200種咁多嘅，每一件都會有佢嘅獨特之處嘅形態，好少會出現到兩件相同嘅。
Yellow is the most common color of Baltic amber. It was believed that transparent yellow amber was the stone of the sun. The common names for yellow shades are honey, gold, fatty amber, chicken fat, or beeswax.
咁喺呢一度咧，都俾大家睇一睇咧，就係比較常見嘅琥珀波羅的海琥珀嘅顏色啦。咁第一同第二嗰個咧，就係比較黃色呢個咧嘅琥珀顏色，有好多人都會形容佢做太陽石嘅。咁喺後邊嗰啲咧就屬於佢哋叫做好似有脂肪感覺嘅帶白色嘅琥珀咁樣嘅。
Baltic amber is not always monochromatic. There are unique combinations or patterns of 2 or more colors or shades. When resin transforms into amber, the color remains of variety according to the changes in the resin itself, presence of the volite components and oxidation process.
咁另外喺呢一度啦，都想俾大家睇一睇到咧，其實佢琥珀咧都唔一定係單一顏色嘅。咁佢可以係有，因為佢經過唔同嘅氧化過程啊、時間累月嘅變化啦，咁有可能有一啲地方咧就會深化啲，有一啲地方咧就會淺色啲咁樣嘅。
Baltic amber can be transparent, translucent, or opaque. The white color of amber is caused by microscopic gas bubbles or water particles encapsulated inside the resin during the hardening process, fossilization. This is like a white foam on a yellow beer.
咁波羅的海琥珀啦，佢可以係透明、半透明，甚至係不透明嘅。咁佢偏白嘅地方啦，就封存咗喺樹枝嘅小氣，因為小氣泡啊或者水粒所形成嘅，就好似我哋啤酒入邊啦，你倒出嚟出現氣泡就會有白色嘅部分咁樣。
This is a foamy structure of white amber in microscopic view.
咁喺呢一張圖片啦，就係超放大嘅白色琥珀入邊嗰個部位啦。咁大家見到好多唔同嘅窿窿啦，就係嗰啲氣泡嘅結構嗰啲位置嚟嘅。
There are nearly 200 known amber deposits through the world, and the new one are discovered. They are different age, different geological conditions, and different mother trees. Only a few of deposits are achieved economic importance, but each of the amber is interesting for scientists.
咁喺全世界各地啦，有大概超過200個地方發現琥珀嘅，喺不同嘅琥珀礦床都屬於唔同嘅一個年代，咁同埋有佢唔同嘅地質條件，同唔同嘅樹嘅樹枝所產生嘅特質啦，所以每一個礦床都具有科學家研究嘅意義嘅。
Baltic amber deposits are related to Central and Eastern Europe. We can find succinate Baltic amber in Germany, Poland, Russia, the Kaliningrad part, Lithuania, Belarus, and Ukraine. And I see the map is a little bit moved, so don't look at the red spots.
OK， 咁波羅的海琥珀啦，一般都會喺東歐地區發現嘅，例如德國啊、波蘭、俄羅斯、立陶宛、白俄羅斯同烏克蘭一帶嘅。
The Baltic Sea was associated to amber deposits from the ancient times. The sea is young. It has formed after the last ice age about 10,000 years ago. It is like a wink of an eye in the history of amber, more than 45 million years. But Baltic Sea just digs in the waving in the old deposits laying under the bottom.
咁呢一度咧就係睇到波羅的海喺以前嘅開採嘅方式啦。咁波羅的海咧其實係一個屬於較年輕嘅海洋嘅，喺最近一次嘅冰河時期之後所形成嘅。咁佢嘅底部咧就沉積咗比佢嘅年份更加遠更加耐嘅琥珀嘅。
The waves throw amber ashore mainly during autumn and winter storms, when cold water is denser. Nowadays, amber hunters use UV light to find amber due to its fluorescence, but the technique of catching is the same as hundreds of years ago. Only rubber clothes instead of traditional seal skin used to sew amber hunters' clothes, and UV lights appear.
咁喺呢一度啦，個相片嗰度睇到咧，就係今時今日嘅琥珀開採嘅過程度啦。咁其實大家可以睇到，其實佢同以前嘅開採喺海床側邊嘅開採方式咧，都好接近嘅。咁唯一唔同嘅地方咧，就係而家現代嘅時候啦，啲人會用一個 UV light 燈去照落嗰個水面嗰度啦，因為琥珀咧係會有一個對 UV 紫外光反射一個效應咁樣。咁除咗呢一樣之外咧，其實你見到佢哋嘅裝備用嘅工具咧都好類似嘅，其實。
Today, the jewelry industry obtains amber mainly from the open pit mines like in Yantarnoye, Kaliningrad part of Russia, Niedźwiada, what you can see on the left picture, it's Eastern Poland, the mine belonging to Stellarium, one of the sponsors of the exhibition, Western Ukraine, and partly Belarus. Artisan miners use hydromechanical exploitation to wash out nuggets from the shallow Holocene secondary deposits. On the picture you can see legal mining close to Gdańsk in Poland, but there is a huge problem of that kind of illegal mining destroying the natural environment in the Western Ukraine.
咁喺呢一度圖片咧，大家睇到咧就係較為大型規模嘅琥珀開採嘅過程啦。咁呢一啲位置咧，都大概喺俄羅斯啊、波蘭東部啊，或者係烏克蘭西部咧，都會有呢一啲礦場嘅。咁佢哋利用咧水力工程機啦，去衝撞水層嗰度，之後令到琥珀咧衝咗上呢個地面上面嘅。咁另一樣嘢啦 ，Michael 想提一提咧，就係其實除咗呢一啲正式嘅渠道嘅開採之外啦，咁其實個行業嘅 嘅環境啦，有一個問題咧，就係有好多啲違法嘅人去做一啲開採啦，咁而呢一樣嘢啦，就會好破壞到大自然生態嘅環境嘅。
Archaeologists report that the oldest amber collections have been discovered in caves in Czech Republic, dating back to 40 to 80,000 years. People's interest in this amazing stone goes so far. On the screen, there are human figurines from Lithuania, wild boar, these are contemporary copies, and solar amulets, since amber was always associated with the sun. They are all dated back to Neolithic period.
據考古學家發現啦，人類最早收藏嘅琥珀嘅證據係喺捷克共和國嘅洞穴中發現嘅。佢嘅年份大約有4萬至去到8萬年前嘅，由原始人類早期咁樣嘅開採嘅發現啦，都已經睇到佢哋對琥珀嘅認知同埋佢哋嘅喜愛。咁喺圖片之中啦，就見到有中間有嘅新石器時代。立陶宛入邊所揾到嘅琥珀人形雕像，同埋一個野豬嘅雕刻品咁樣。另外右手邊咧就係一個好太陽嘅護身符嘅。
A stone that is warm to the touch, light, smelling when wrapped, and burning have been interesting to people for thousands of years. His first applications were magic, amulets, and belief in healing.
咁好多時咧，琥珀咧其實成日都會同太陽做上一個聯繫啦。咁點解就係因為當佢燃燒嘅時候，產生一個好獨特嘅味道。咁原始人咧喺嗰陣時就開始認為佢同太陽咧係有密切嘅關係，而具有法力啦，同埋有治療嘅功效。
Such a curious raw material was traded in antiquity. The amber root allowed for globalization. The Roman Empire, Chinese Empire, and other cultures imported amber from the wild north in exchange of weapons, glass decorations, technologies, and of course, cultural influence. The amber root and Silk Road allowed to entwine world's trade. On the screen, there are Roman and Etruscan figurines made of Baltic amber. The value of amber figurine that time was higher than a helpless slave. For sure, you know much more about the Chinese implementations in amber and culture.
咁琥珀啦，一直以嚟啦都有佢嘅非常之高嘅交易嘅價值啦。喺絲綢之路都係一個常常會見到嘅交易貨品啦。咁當時羅馬帝國啊、中國啊，或者一啲遠古老文化嘅地方啦，都會嚟到由從北方呢邊進口呢個琥珀嚟到換取武器啦，或者其他各類嘅商品。咁喺圖片嗰度我哋見到啦，就係由左邊講起啦，就係有一個羅馬同埋伊特魯利亞小雕像咁樣嘅。咁佢哋嘅價值啦，喺當其時喺呢度圖片見到嘅一件啦，根據 Michael 所講啦，就係會係可以換到一個嘅奴隸咁樣嘅喺當其時。
The golden age of amber was 16th and 17th century. In Gdańsk and Königsberg, now it's called Kaliningrad, many famous workshops appeared. They created gifts and presents for the most wealthy men of the world.
喺琥珀最興盛嘅時期啦，就屬於係16至到17世紀嘅。咁呢一段時間啦，就屬於係琥珀嘅黃金時代。咁當時波蘭嘅 Gdańsk 以及俄羅斯西部嘅 Kaliningrad， 當時咧就培養咗好多頂級嘅琥珀嘅工匠。咁佢哋咧都由嗰陣時開始咧，都製造咗好多嘅精品啊、稀世珍品嚟到送俾好多唔同具有勢力嘅人士咁樣嘅。
The most famous gift, I hope everybody can make such, was amber room. It was created by Gdańsk craftsmen. After years, it was given to Tsar of Russia as a gift. Now we can see the reconstruction of the interior of the amber room in Summer Palace in St. Petersburg.
咁喺圖片上面呢度見到啦，就係琥珀入邊最出名嘅一個琥珀藝術品啦。咁呢一個咧係由波蘭嘅 Gdansk 工匠所製造而成嘅琥珀廳，當其時咧就係送俾呢個俄羅斯嘅沙皇嘅。咁而家目前咧佢就已經係被重建咗，而放咗喺聖彼得堡嘅夏宮入邊嘅。
Many other artifacts like caskets, altar, or chess sets were manufactured at that time. This is the latest purchase of Gdańsk Amber Museum, manufactured in workshop of Michael Redlin in Gdańsk in 1690. This is something special for me because I'm a chess player.
咁啦，呢個琥珀咧，入邊好多藝術家都有利用佢做好多唔同類型嘅雕塑品咁樣啦。咁喺圖片上面大家見到嘅就係一個屬於由波蘭嘅 Gdansk 琥珀博物館最近所採購買翻嚟嘅一個作品。咁呢件作品咧就係喺1690年由名師 Michael Redlin 嘅工作坊所造成嘅。
Pros and cons. I've been talking to many jewelry designers, and I present a small list. Pros. Amber, it's light. You can use big pieces. Colors and forms stimulate the imagination. There is a history of human use. This is probably first decorative stone. It has a secret life inside. Amber inclusions. The color is changing. Colors became intense and saturated. It's very easy to process. It's warm to the touch. It's absolutely different than any other stones like pearls or coral. It's electrostatic, positive influence on health. It can be glued easily into mosaics, and it's very easy to polish.
咁講到呢一度啦，咁我哋都為大家講解一下，討論一下關於琥珀嘅優點，所謂佢嘅利與弊之中啦。咁喺優點上面，我哋先提起啦，就係琥珀咧，其實係非常之輕巧嘅，咁係好容易咧，可以做出比較大型體積嘅設計啦。咁另外佢有好靚嘅顏色，同有好多唔同嘅天然嘅形狀啦。喺人類歷史之中係屬於比較較為早發現嘅寶石之一。所以具有深厚多一啲嘅歷史價值啦。咁另外咧，喺每一塊琥珀入邊，喺含有植物或者昆蟲入邊都有屬於佢自己一個好特別嘅故事啦。喺其他寶石之中係唔會揾到嘅。咁另外就係佢因為佢會經過氧化而改變顏色啦。呢個都屬於一個優點，因為佢俾啲人一個感覺就係佢會係一種帶有生命嘅寶石。咁上手嗰陣時咧，就係會開始暖嘅。咁另外咧，佢有電子嘅特質啦，咁呢樣嘢都對身體上面有幫助。喺硬度方面咧，佢就唔屬於太硬嘅，所以咧就容易啲可以用嚟做製作啊，或者打磨。咁同埋咧，佢都係可以好容易咁樣用膠水啊，可以做成唔同嘅拼圖嘅圖案咁樣嘅。
And cons. Amber is very fragile, it's delicate, it can chip. There is a color change if you want something continuous. Amber, comparing to jade, loses its shine over time, but we are talking about hundreds of years. Amber is difficult to recognize its modifications and difficult to set with traditional jewelry techniques.
好啦，咁呢度講關於佢嘅缺點啦，就係首先佢嘅硬度唔係好硬，咁所以好容易咧就會chip 到啊，或者會整崩嘅。佢嘅顏色會變，不過呢一樣嘢咧係大概可能100年嘅時間以上先至會產生嘅改變啦。 咁佢亦都會因為佢較腍，所以咧佢個打磨令嘅surface 個面咧就好容易咧會唔會好似玉石咁樣啦，咁一路維持到佢嘅光澤咁樣。咁另外咧就係佢嘅加工之後好難識別有冇俾人修改過、修補過嘅痕跡啦。咁另外因為佢嘅硬度嘅所有嘅特質關係啦，佢唔係咁容易用傳統嘅珠寶技術用嚟做鑲嵌咁樣嘅。
On the next few slides, I would like to present some of exceptional and my personal favorite designs. Many of them are award winners. Some of them are commercial, some experimental. They present the purest stones and also show natural skin and some impurities, which are typical for Baltic amber.
咁嚟到呢一度啦，阿 Michael 啦都想同大家一齊分享一下關一啲唔同嘅圖片。喺嚟緊嘅 slide 啦，佢都會展示一啲佢覺得好值得有欣賞價值嘅一啲設計嘅琥珀嘅設計啦。咁入邊有一啲係商業性質嘅設計，亦有一啲咧係比較係概念上嘅設計咁樣嘅。咁入邊全部都會出現咗好多唔同色彩嘅特色嘅琥珀嘅。
Just present next slides, please. And this slide contains my three favorite designers, Michael Zobel from Germany, Sławomir Fiałkowski, and Wilhelm Tassomater. Sławomir Fiałkowski, it's taking care of the Polish part of the exhibition and find.
咁呢度 Michael 想為大家注意一下啦，呢個就係佢最中意、覺得最特別嘅一個琥珀設計，由 Michael Zobel 同埋 Sławomir Fiałkowski 同埋 Wilhelm Tassomater 所設計嘅。
Thank you, Jesse. I'm sure I presented some of the facts you not widely known. I hope this presentation broadened your knowledge and will make someone interested in this fascinating stone. Thank you, Alicia Kelly, for invitation for this incredible project. The presentation was prepared by Agnieszka Kosior and me. Thank you.
好啦，咁喺呢一度啦，到最後阿 Michael 想多謝大家同佢呢一度去學關於琥珀嘅所有嘅資料啦。咁佢要多謝 Miss Alicia Kelly 去為呢一個今次嘅活動擺放咗嘅努力同時間啦。同埋關於呢個 presentation 咧，就係佢本人同埋 Agnieszka Kosior 一齊合作去擺埋組織一齊嘅資料咁樣啦。咁喺呢一度再一次多謝大家。
This was my one more sentence. This was my second talk in Loop. 3 years ago, I had a very tiny public. Now I'm impressed that all of you are interested in amber. I hope there will be much more possibilities to talk and to meet next months, next days, years. Thank you.
好啦，咁頭先阿 Michael 講啦，就係其實今次呢一度咧，其實係佢最近第2次做嘅一個 presentation。咁佢希望咧都令到有大家對琥珀有更加深厚嘅興趣，同埋增加咗大家嘅興趣咁樣啦。咁希望喺將來都會有多啲嘅機會可以同大家再講多一啲關於琥珀嘅資料咁樣。
好啦，我哋頭先個環節咧就關於分享我哋琥珀喺呢方面好多唔同嘅認知啊。波羅的嘅琥珀咁點解叫做一個黃金？當然佢有佢嘅好着重真要嘅地方啦。咁頭先阿 Michael 咧都同我哋好專業地分享咗好多關於波羅的海琥珀上面一啲應用啊、歷史啊、知識啊，或者亦都係當代一啲唔同嘅波蘭嘅一啲 artist 喺設計方面點樣去應用啦。咁呢個係非常之詳盡嘅分享。咁我哋都好 好多謝阿 Michael 同埋頭先阿 Eric 幫我哋翻譯咗做廣東話嘅部分，多謝晒。好啦，咁其實咧咁嚟緊我哋而家接下來都緊接住呢個環節咧，就去到我哋關於呢個絲連琥珀嘅頭先個部分嘅一個問答環節嘅一個 Q&A session。咁based on頭先阿 Michael 同大家分享嘅一啲嘅素材啦，咁大家如果對於剛才頭先我哋一啲嘅唔同嘅 topic 啊，或者一啲唔同嘅一啲嘅 slide 咧，如果大家係有啲 question 或者問題想問翻Michael 嘅咧，可以喺而家可以喺我哋個 chat box 度打一啲嘅問題啦，或者如果你想現場用 live cam 去問咧，亦都可以開你隻眼仔 unmute 自己，可以 wave hand 同我哋 MC 同我哋 Eric， 咁就發表呢個問題嘅。
好啦，so thank you everyone here. So at this time, we're going to have a Q&A session. So any of you, if you have any questions about amber, you can send them to us over the chat, and we'll have Mr. Michael help us answer them.
I see there is a first question, how we can tell the difference between real and fake amber by eyes.
Yes, yes, thank you. Please go ahead. Yes.
It's not easy. First of all, we should say that we have natural simulants and synthetic simulants of Baltic amber. Natural, it's for example modified Colombian copal. It's still resin of a tree, but it's from different tree, from different period of time, and of different value. The easiest method is to smell. When you polish, when you do the work with Baltic amber, you know how it smells. But other resins, like Colombian copal, even like Myanmar amber, they smell different. They are from different mother trees. So the very easy thing is to know how Baltic amber smells and rub the piece you have that is suspected and try to smell. Synthetic simulants, they don't smell at all. Amber, different kind of amber, you should smell, exact smell. With the synthetic simulants, it's more difficult because they are sometimes by eye absolutely same like Baltic amber. So it's a big. It's not very easy. It's better to visit one of the laboratories and check it, test it in infrared spectrophotometry and have a result with no doubts.
OK， 好啦，咁呢度都等我為大家用中文 recap 翻一次Mr. Michael 嘅答案啦。咁頭先有朋友有朋友咧就係問點樣用肉眼分辨真同假嘅琥珀。咁目前啦，我哋首先講有啲咩嘅琥珀係有啲假琥珀究竟係咩嚟？咁假琥珀咧有兩種嘅，一種咧就係完全係喺用塑膠所仿偽嘅一種物件啦。另外一種咧就係屬於係 composite 嘅。composite 嘅意思咧就係佢用咗真正嘅物料磨成粉狀，之後再溝其他一啲嘅物件。咁呢啲其他物件可能未必係波羅的海嘅琥珀啦，可能係其他琥珀。咁呢啲仿真度就會高啲，或者佢溝其他唔同嘅雜質。咁呢兩種咧都屬於係仿藝品嚟嘅。咁點樣喺呢一啲仿藝品之中咧，可以分辨到波羅的海嘅琥珀同呢一啲點樣做一個分界啦？咁佢頭先 Mr. Michael 啦講咧就係唯一一樣佢哋會比較常用嘅咧，就係用呢個味道去分辨佢。就係當佢摩擦琥珀或者去燃燒琥珀時所產生嘅味道咧，係波羅的海嗰一隻味咧係好獨特嘅。咁喺呢一個過程咧，其實你就好需要認知到究竟波羅的海嘅味道係咩啦。咁呢一個係一個即係佢頭先俾到嘅答案啦，咁樣嘅。咁但係基本上佢頭先最尾嘅結論咧，就係最安全嘅方法都係拎去化驗所用 特別嘅儀器，用光譜去做呢一個鑑證，先至係最100% 穩陣嘅。
And a very simple test, it's also hot needle test. You use a lighter to make the needle, metal needle, red hot, and then you can stick to the object. But of course, if you have a jewelry, it's a destructive method. So you cannot do with the jewelry. With the lamp, with a piece of rough stone, you can touch with a hot needle. When you smell pine smell, it's probably amber. When you smell some chemical smell, it might be synthetic simulants. But of course, you need to remember this is destructive method, not to apply to the jewelry.
So actually, let me start in English first. So what you describe, actually, this test is what my mom uses.
Hot
So-
needle test, yes?
Yeah, so she calls it the needle test. The reason why is, so in jade, a lot of the times the jade carvings, we use amber as like a pairing for the, to tie the top of the strings. So we use amber beads. So when I was young, I asked my mom, how do you know this isn't plastic, right? And then so she said, you light a hot needle, poke the hole of the bead, and you try to smell the plastic or the wood smell. So yeah, so I just thought I wanted to share that with you as well.
This is globalization and influence on amber and jade.
好啦，咁我都用廣東話為大家recap 翻頭先我同 Michael 嘅對話啦。咁佢話其實另外一種方式可以去分辨真嘅琥珀同塑膠嘅琥珀啦，就係用一支將一支針鐵嘅針燒到佢好熱，之後咧就去篤嗰個琥珀咁樣。咁當你篤嗰個琥珀嗰陣時，燃燒個琥珀嗰個位咧，就應該會產生咗松樹波羅的海特別嘅松樹味道嘅氣味咁樣嘅。咁呢一樣嘢都係屬於一種佢哋可能行家之中會去做嘅一個測試啦咁樣嘅。
好啦，唔該晒 Michael 同埋阿 Eric 嘅分享。咁就我哋都見到有第二位朋友咧，就係問關於
價值最高
係啦。問關於喺琥珀嚟講咧，我哋有咩係咪咩顏色係比較最獨特啊、最貴重啲、expensive 啲？係同埋有冇越透明越有錢？
琥珀就係紅橙色嗰個。
咩顏色最貴重？可能
OK。
我哋用英文問。
好啊。So Michael, there's another guest asking for the amber, the Baltic ambers. So what kind of variation of color is the most expensive and treasured one? And is that for the transparency? Is it with more transparency, it's worth more expensive?
It's just like a resin something. Like opaque.
I don't understand.
Opaque.
Opaque, yes. Always opaque amber has a bigger price. The highest level of tiny bubbles inside make the amber even chalk white. We call it chalk white. This is the most expensive kind of Baltic amber. Much more expensive than the transparent one. And in the deposit, you have more transparent pieces than opaque pieces or translucent. So white is in minority. This is the reason it's more expensive. Even from the ancient times, it was believed it contains the best healthy supplements or healthy values. So absolutely, white amber and opaque amber, it's the most expensive one. But one more thing, it's important. We are sometimes simple people. Size matters, and how piece is big. It is also important to the value of not only color, not only transparency, but also size, like in the old gem industry.
好啦，咁呢度等我用中文為大家解答翻頭先 Mr Michael 嘅對話啦。咁喺琥珀入邊，其實唔透明嘅咧，先至係價值最 高嘅，因為其實呢個係同佢嗰個罕有程度有關嘅。咁通常一般透明嘅咧都係比較產量多啲啊，容易啲揾到嘅。所以相比下咧，其實唔透明嘅琥珀先至係最罕有啦，價值會相比高啲啦。咁另外就係顏色啦，一定係佢話好深色，差唔多深色到好黑嗰種嘅琥珀嘅顏色，先至係價值都會比起淺色嘅金色嘅較為高。咁一樣都係同佢嗰個罕有程度有關啦，咁樣嘅。咁另外咧，頭先講咗就係透明度、顏色。另外第三咧，佢都想講其實嗰個 size 嗰個尺寸咧，亦都係其中一樣斷定琥珀嘅質素啊，同埋佢嘅價值之一嘅會考慮嘅嘢啦，咁樣。
OK， 唔該晒 Eric 嘅翻譯同埋 Michal 嘅分享。咁相信頭先剛剛嗰條問題咧都回覆咗頭先。另外頭先有第二位嘅觀眾啦，就發問咗點樣去 grading， 即係點樣去評核佢係一個呢個 quality 啊，或者甚至佢個價值咧係對於琥珀。咁頭先我剛講啊 Eric 中文上個翻譯都簡單講咗佢嘅顏色啊，咁 density 上邊咧呢啲都會好影響波羅的海琥珀咧係喺嗰個。即係對於個價值上啊 value 上啊，無論係做喺珠寶啊或者做鑑賞上面咧，係會有個價值係分享咗出嚟嘅，係啦。
So Mr. Michal, we have a question in Chinese. So I'm just going to translate it. George is asking. So George is asking, if it's carved compared to if it isn't carved, how does this affect the value?
Always the product has higher value than the rough piece, anything it is. So definitely it has influence on value. Of course, it differs who design it, who carve it, and what is this meaning of the carving. So many things to understand, to say how it will influence the value.
Okay, so let me elaborate further the question though. So if it's carved, if the raw material is carved, if it's carved with very just smooth surface as compared to with like detailed workmanship, which is there like a better or lesser better? Like which one is better, or it's hard to say?
Probably I didn't understand the question. So we are talking about the natural carving.
So if sometimes like I see like the shapes of the amber, they're just polished like in a smooth surface, right?
Yes.
But some pieces, they have very detailed craftsmanship into it for like a particular design. So how does this affect the price? Like, is it smooth surface always better because it shows the natural stone 100%? Or is it the carving kind with design that is preferred?
I think how many hours the artisan spent to make it, it has an influence on the price. Probably the same is with the jade industry. The jade can be also polished or carved. It has also influence on the price. Has it?
咁George 啦，咁我一下呢度幫你翻譯一下頭先你嗰個問題啦。關於雕刻咗嘅琥珀，究竟有啲會點樣影響佢嘅價值？咁頭先教授所講啦，就係一定咧就係加咗工嘅琥珀會比原材料價值更高嘅。咁喺頭先我幫我自己嘅一個問題啦，就問佢，如果純粹係將嗰個原材料光新咗佢，同一個有設計有雕刻嘅設計比啦，咁佢嘅答案就係話一定係有設計有工序嘅時間啊，擺咗工藝同時間上去，先至會令到琥珀嘅價值更加提升咁樣嘅。
好啦，咁好多謝頭先 Michal 同埋阿 Eric 嘅翻譯啦分享。咁 都簡單解答咗各位即係觀眾、視像觀眾，你哋而家對於剛才我哋琥珀嘅一啲嘅認知上一啲嘅知識啦。咁當然啦，如果大家線上嘅朋友，如果對於我哋嚟緊或者你有更加多嘅問題想問咧，或者我哋而家嚟唔切發問嘅時候咧，我哋之後可以透過即係 inbox 或者其他途徑可以直接我哋再慢慢回覆翻大家嘅，即係大家都可以同翻我哋去做翻一個 contact 啦，即係 message 翻俾我哋啦。咁我哋亦都會同翻阿 Michael 嗰邊即係做翻一個問翻個即係個問題，之後再慢慢逐一回答翻各位觀眾嘅。
Okay, so thank you, Michal, for sharing with us and for your time today. So this is the end of our Q&A session, but for any of you that still have questions that are unanswered, you can send it to the Loop inbox, and we'll try our best to help you relay those questions with Mr. Michal or whoever necessary to answer those questions.
Thank you so much, Michal。咁我哋好多謝阿 Michal剛才為我哋嗰大概1個鐘嘅環節啦，分享咗咁多波羅的海琥珀嘅一啲好貴重嘅知識。咁我哋都好增廣見聞啦，學到好多嘢啦。咁以後嘅時間咧，其實都輪到我哋今次C年今次呢個 Ontwine 呢個分享會嘅第2個部分啦，Eric。咁我哋嚟次去到玉石個 part 啦。咁我哋嚟緊咧就會有請我哋嘅玉器商會嘅會長啦，羅志光先生啦，為我哋介紹翻玉石嘅部分啦。咁令到大家可以知道咧，究竟琥珀咧同玉石咧係有啲咩咁嘅分別啦。
So thank you, everyone. Coming up next, we have the second part of our seminar. This is the talk about jade. And again, after the session, we will have a Q&A after it for it. So at this time, please help us, let us welcome Mr. Law of the Hong Kong Jade Association.
我而家開始講，大家好，我係1974年就學做雕刻嘅，做一個小學徒。通常我哋咧就做3年咧就係滿師啦。咁我滿完師咧就開始就去自己開設嘅工場，開始授徒啦。跟住就起咗啲貨咧，就自己就去每一間鋪頭嗰度銷售啦、推銷啦。咁啊，直至到1988年開始咧，就翻去國內設廠啦。因為當時嚟講，香港已經好少人入行，再做我哋嗰個雕刻嘅行業啦。咁當時嚟講，就主要嘅賣貨點就係去台灣啊、日本啊、新加坡啊、泰國啊嘅呢啲國家啦。咁後期到我1990年，因為我好中意做創意啊、設計啊、特色嘅嘢啊，咁啊好多人就欣賞我嘅作品啦，都尊稱我為大師啦。咁啊其實都有啲幾開心嘅呢一樣嘢就。咁直至到我就做到2012年咧，我就開始入咗香港玉器商會做會長啦。我嘅簡介大致係咁多啦。
With the Jade talk here presentation, I'll also be doing the English translation for everybody here. Again, we're trying to make everything as much bilingual as possible so everybody here understands. This here is the quick introduction to Mr. Law. He began his apprenticeship in jade craftsmanship in Hong Kong in 1974. A few years after his study, he was able to move on, opening his own workshop by 1977. And after a few years after that, in 1988, at that time, he had moved majority of his operation into mainland China because in Hong Kong around this time, it was getting harder and harder and more difficult to find skilled labor. It was then when he moved into China where he began teaching and receiving his own apprentices. And then by 1990, he began receiving honorable rewards for his recognition of work of jade carvings. He was doing a lot of very creative stuff. So I've known Mr. Law for quite many years. So he's actually a very, very humble person. He's got very strong craftsmanship work. You guys will be able to see more examples of this later in the slide. And one last thing is by 2012, he became the president of our Hong Kong Jade Association. 好，大家好啦，我係 Eric。咁其實我嘅正職係一個翡翠行業嘅設計師啦，同埋有屬於自己嘅公司嘅。咁希望咧一路都可以為佢成長，一路可以成長我自己嘅公司啦，繼而令到佢成為一個比較有知名嘅品牌，令到多啲人可以認識到、了解到翡翠嘅產品。咁本身我屋企嘅背景都係屬於都係做翡翠行業嘅，咁佢哋喺廣東道玉器街啦，都有屬於佢哋嘅自己嘅店鋪，都到而家都一路經營緊嘅，所以咧都係屬於老字號店鋪之一咁樣啦。So hello everyone, this is my introduction. My name is Eric. So my real job is actually a jewelry designer. And my company is called Jade Atelier. It's something that I started a couple years ago, and I'm trying to grow it step by step. Okay. And so in hopes that I can let more people see different kinds of designs of jade, and that it can be something where they can wear every day. A little bit more background of myself for you. Both my parents are actually jade jewelers. They started their business many years ago in 1960s in the Jade Street in Hong Kong, still operating up to now. So they love jade, and hopefully some of you will, if you don't already, by the end of this presentation.
緬甸嘅，咁其他地方都有嘅，但係90%以上都係產自緬甸。咁其他危地馬拉啊、蘇聯啊或者加拿大啊都會有少量嘅出產嘅。咁我如果去開公款嘅話，我哋都會去投石嘅。
So the majority of the jadeite materials come from Myanmar. There's also various types of jade that are found in other parts of the world, such as Guatemalan jade, China jade, or Russian jade. The majority of what we're going to focus on today is the翡翠 classification of jade.
礦場咧都會出產一啲名廠嘅翡翠嘅，例如 Mandalay 啊，喺坐落於 Mandalay 嘅以北350公里嘅烏油河岸邊，是世界最聞名嘅玉礦產之一。翡翠嘅原石產量一度高到世界翡翠玉石嘅產量95%嘅。
Today we'll be focusing mainly on jade that comes from Myanmar. What you see here in the map here with us is a place in Myanmar called Bagan. It's a mountainous area with the Uyu River that runs through it in the middle. It's about 350 kilometers north of Mandalay. Mandalay is a very big city, one of the bigger cities in Myanmar. So one of the reasons why we always talk about Bagan is that it's one of the most earliest locations where jade deposits were found, and most of them being very high quality. By now though, a lot of the mining that has taken place has changed the landscape, which you see in the bottom picture. It's more of becoming a very big excavation sites where a lot of heavy machineries are being used to dig very deep into the ground to find jade.
緬甸嘅玉石拍賣會由官方舉行嘅，通常每一次大概係10日到啦，舉辦嘅嗰個時間。以前大概係1年有3次，但係而家咧1年就1次。咁2年前嘅拍賣會總成交額咧就達到4.7億歐元嘅。
So this is Myanmar jade auction. It's an event hosted by the local authorities. Duration is usually about 10 to 14 days. And in 2019, just to give you an idea of the monetary numbers, the turnover at that time was about 470 million euros. It's considered a fairly big event for people who work in the jade industry here.
我哋拍賣嘅投標形式咧，就通常啲石頭都會切開咗或者拆開咗俾我哋睇嘅。咁佢哋我哋就明標好、暗標好，都係以價高者得為準嘅。因為我出幾多錢或者其他客人出幾多錢，大家都唔知嘅。但開標就係最高嗰個投得嘅。
So here are the pictures of the actual jade auction, what's inside. During this event, you'll see many jade stone materials organized into different lots. They're laid out all over the convention. And during the first couple of days is where everyone begins doing their examination. You'll see large crowds of people. Everybody is literally carrying a flashlight, which is used for examining the jade stone. As for the auction itself, it's transacted in two kinds. So one is the absolute bid. So this is your typical bidding format where similar to like the antique auction houses where you have people, buyers bidding versus each other in real time. And then the other format that we have, majority of actually the auction of this in Myanmar is taking place with silent bids. So silent bids is a little bit different where there is one cutoff time before which everybody must submit their bids, which is what you see on the top right corner of the picture where you have the belay boxes and the people dropping in their bids into the box. So usually in the area where people are writing their bids and putting their bids, it's actually very intense because everybody's trying to hide what they write in the paper. They're scared of the competition around them, which is literally everyone around them, right? So they're trying to hide their numbers and not let people see the price that they are bidding in, because this is only a one-time bid format. The bids are opened one time altogether, and only the highest bidder will win the bid for that lot of stones.
我哋嘅玉石之美，玉也。傳統對玉石嘅觀念主要就係保平安、定經、辟邪、傳承同埋身份嘅象徵。因為以前都係以有錢人或者高官，甚至係皇帝先至可以佩戴玉器嘅。
So in general, there are certain percentages to jade. It's believed to be good for spiritual protection and healing. There's also heritage value, where it's very common for a family to pass on jade items from one generation to another. And there's also the noble status value, where being associated with jade means you have a certain social status amongst the community, where in Chinese history, at some point, it was believed that only the noble families were allowed to own jade. Those who weren't, it was a crime for you to possess jade.
翡翠嘅特性，佢係粗粒嘅纖維嚟嘅，主要都係晶體嘅結構。佢嘅硬度大概係7度左右，仲有綠輝石啊、納羅輝石啊，都納為翡翠嘅一種。以越透明為之係個質地係越幼，咁佢嘅顏色亦都係好多嘅。以認知寶石之中係玉石係最多色彩嘅一種，佢嘅顏色多達起碼係10幾種，甚至更多。甚至乎有一件嘅 石頭之中已經有7種啊至10種嘅顏色集埋一齊嘅。
So the properties of 翡翠. I think here would be a good time for me to explain a little bit more about jade. Personally, I get asked about this a lot. Jade, jadeite, nephrite, what's the difference? So let me try my best to explain this for you here. Jade is actually a mineral composite stone, as we know. It's a common name for the main group of family. So jade is the general name of it, where underneath it is 2 main groups. One is nephrite and one is 翡翠. So nephrite, it's more, by appearance, it looks very different. It's more pale. It doesn't come in as many colors. It's very not like what you see in the picture, which in the picture you see now is 翡翠. So just to repeat this again, jade is the general name. Then we have nephrite, and then we have 翡翠. And for today, we're focusing mainly on 翡翠. So 翡翠has in it also, to make this more confusing, okay, so 翡翠in it has 3 more main types of families, which is jadeite, jade, omphacite, and cosmochlore. So these 3 main types together is what 翡翠is. And as I mentioned, our talk today will mainly be focused on 翡翠type. So the Mohs hardness of 翡翠is between 6.5 and 7.0. It comes in many translucency levels. It can be opaque or medium translucent or very highly translucent, much like amber. And also with the classifications, there's 23 over more than 23 types of distinct classifications in it, which we'll come to explain in the later slides. And also in the colors, it's got a very wide range of colors, which you will also see in the coming slides with here.
翡翠嘅品種最靚嘅我哋係老坑種啦、帝王玉啦，咁啊其他有金絲玉啊、豆青啊、白底青啊、冰種、玻璃種、乾青、油青、鐵龍星、芙蓉種、紅玉、黃玉、紫羅蘭、紫青、福祿壽，即係3色咁解啦。仲有早2年係好流行嘅蜜翠啦，同埋而家嘅都好流行嘅烏雞種啦。烏雞種即係有黑啦、有冰啦、甚至乎有綠色嘅。咁低級啲嘅就有新山啦、雷劈啦、白衫啦。瑪雅種其實係玉石嘅一種瑕疵嚟嘅，唔係咁靚，比較粗糙嘅石頭。
Here are the different types of classifications to jade. The most prestigious and well-known color is the imperial green color. That's the type that you'll see towards the top left here. Unfortunately, there's no very good English translation towards the names of these classifications. What I can explain though, in general, that these classifications has a lot to do with the color and the translucency level or the structure of the jade. Each classification is unique to where, can be unique to where it is mined, which is a very unique feature because every mine, every different jade deposit mine has its own particular feature if you look, if you pay attention closely enough to it. In general though, the lower types, the lower value types of the classification tends to be the lower translucency or the less dense, which if you cut it, feels a lot softer. So here's the wrap up for classification.
比較幼細同埋比較靚嘅，我哋就叫做瑪瑙種，因為佢嘅幼度係好幼嘅。瑪瑙嘅纖維係一層層好似絲質咁樣嘅，就非常之幼細，所以我哋玉石有時好幼細嘅玉石，我哋叫做瑪瑙種啦。好似呢一片咁就係瑪瑙種啦，同埋佢有啲黃，有啲少少綠絲，比較係優質同埋名貴嘅石頭。
So a particular classification that's worth mentioning here is what you see in the picture. And in the translation of it, we describe this classification as similar to chalcedony, to agate, but it's not about the color. It's more about the crystalline structure of it being similar to chalcedony, which is very fine and highly translucent.
玉嘅顏色有好多種嘅，有白色啊、紅色啊、粉紅色啊、橙色、褐色、棕色、黃色、綠色、暗藍、紫、灰、黑，同埋有即係差唔多你係彩虹七色之外，都仲有好多種顏色，佢都會有嘅玉石。好似呢一個雅心咁，佢都已經有6、7種顏色。
So in this picture, you can see the different kinds of colors that jade can come in. Most people that we speak to out there actually only knew that jade comes in green, but in reality, it can be of all sorts of different colors, as you can see here in the sample photo. This is also one thing that's worth mentioning is the raw material itself can be itself found in multiple different colors. For example, on the bottom, you can see that a material in a certain space can have up to 6 or more different colors. Really depends on the material that we find.
通常我哋評嗰個玉石嗰個品質點樣去評？通常我哋就以種色藝嚟評嘅，因為色就有濃啦。 濃色即係佢嘅飽和度咁解啦，即係等佢嘅色澤。陽即係佢比較清澈啲咁嘅意思。均即係佢嘅顏色嘅分佈嘅均唔均勻啊。藝即係主要就係講佢嗰個工藝。透明度即係佢嘅水分啊。我哋如果用射燈去射，我哋行家講1寸水、2寸水，就睇下個透明度嗰個標準嚟講啦。咁佢 正度就即係講佢嗰個有冇瑕疵啊，有冇花點啊，或者有冇猛啊，或者其他嘅雜質啊，咁樣去評嗰件嘢，佢靚唔靚就咁樣評。
Here we're going to talk about the grading of 翡翠. This is done in various aspects. The type of classifications of it, the color, and the amount of it all affect the grading itself. Because often the color may not be over the whole piece of the item. It could just be in a small spot, which is not what you see in the picture here. This one here is a very general color with very high vibrancy. The vibrancy, as I mentioned, also matters, which in comparison, opposite to being vibrant is pale and dull, and very dull colored like, which is not good. The intensity of the color is a bit like, when we talk about this, it's a bit like with diamonds, where in colored diamonds, we also have an intensity grading. So that affects the price as well. The translucency, naturally, with obvious reasons, the higher the translucency and the clarity, the higher the value. The craftsmanship is also very important. It takes a lot of skill and knowledge to be able to appreciate good craftsmanship. And last but not least, the shape and size also matters. In general, the bigger the piece, the higher the value, because it's much more harder to find something without imperfections in bigger areas.
翡翠嘅成品主要就係佢嘅首飾例如係手鐲啊、珠鏈啊、吊墜啊、耳環啊、襟針啊、手鏈啊、戒指啊、擺件，同埋一啲器皿啦，同埋一啲印章啊咁。
Here, the different product types that翡翠 can come in, it's pretty straightforward, similar to other various types of gems. You'll see翡翠 being used in all the similar product types like any other gemstone.
翡翠嘅設計特點主要都係因材施藝啦。 有啲人就揾設計師設計咗先至做，但係我哋有時都係會先做咗，然後揾設計師去設計，即係雙方面都可以嘅。
We're going to discuss a few things about the advantages or the pros towards using fascia in design in your designs. The attractive part about fascia is that there's a very wide range of colors available for you to use. So I'm sure like designers here would be able to appreciate this because it allows you to have a lot of creativity when you're creating or making your design pieces. The material itself is also good for sculpting. The hardness is workable, and with the raw material, the different size, it comes in many different sizes. So you're not limited to just making smaller pieces. You can also use it for sculpting very, very big pieces of work.
對設計師嘅弊端，因為我哋玉石咧係每一件石頭之中，佢嘅顏色分佈啊嘅質地啊都有唔好參差嘅，所以做一條珠鏈都好難配到一條珠鏈完全一模一樣嘅顏色嘅。所以玉嘅矜貴就喺呢度，亦都有一度唔好處咧，因為顏色好難走得咁均勻，所以都係好考設計師嘅。如果譬如有訂單想接嚟做10條珠鏈，要一個色嘅就好難做得到啦，一條都已經係相當困難。
So here we'll talk about the disadvantages or the cons towards using fascia as your design. The disadvantages could be sometimes quite difficult to overcome. When you're working from the same raw material, this would become less of a problem. But often, this is not always the case. So for example, when you need to find matching colors to your designs, that can be shown to be quite difficult, as no stone, like within the same stone, you'll find similar colors, but from raw material to raw material, other stones, it's not always that easy to find the exact colors. Even with production-wise, it also creates a lot of problems. If you're a business owner where you receive an order for multiple items of the same product by a customer who wants the exact same item, same necklace, even if you have that kind of demand, you may not always be able to match that because of the supply issues. And because the supply of the jade is an issue, it also leads to a lot of cost problems, a lot of price fluctuations in the materials, which can make it very difficult and challenging to do business with sometimes.
呢啲就我嘅作品啦。我主要嘅就係因材施藝啦。咁我賣原石翻嚟嗰時，見到呢條倉魚嘅原材料嘅顏色好特別，咁我就設計咗做一條倉魚啦。好似呢啲蟹，佢黃得嚟，好似熟咗嘅蟹嘅顏色，咁我就做咗啲蟹啦。好似羊扒啊，我就利用佢嘅顏色分佈，就做咗啲骨頭同埋啲肉啦。西蘭花又係啦，撞個色同埋佢個顏色都係好青綠嘅，好似嘅。白色嘅我又做咗啲帶子去配襯啦。咁啊西蘭花炒帶子，咁我哋中國人都好中意食嘅。咁有啲白飯啊，有啲筷子啊，有啲杯啦。就當年嚟講，2009年我嘅得獎作品啦。咁我呢個絕世膠係朋友幫我改嘅。
Okay, so at this point, we're moving on into showing a different jade design or famous pieces. What you see here is actually something made by Mr. Law himself. And in 2009, he received a very creative award for his jade carvings in here. A lot of the times, Mr. Law, he really likes to use the color of the jade material. He spends a lot of time observing the raw material, and then he develops a design which he thinks best uses what the material is. So when he saw like a red jade material, he thought it just looks like a crab. So, and that's what he did here. And with different materials also, like when he saw a little orange patch in the material, in the raw material, he thought it looked very much like fried fish, like that. And also, as you see, we've got broccolis made of green jade, and also the white jade, he uses it for the rice and also for the scallops, and all of this, like, just together is a very creative design done by him.
呢一件就係鴻運當頭啦，我自己比較中意嘅一件作品。咁我買翻嚟嗰陣時，個行家已經同我講：喂，羅志剛，你買咗佢啦，成嚿豬肉咁。咦，我又好似幾似嘅，咁我又只係切咗佢一小部分，跟住就差唔多原件石就咁樣雕刻而成啦。咁做咗出嚟都好受歡迎，自己亦都好中意呢件作品。
So this here is one of the very famous pieces done by Mr. Law himself. I think he most definitely got extra points for this because every Chinese person loves roast pork. So on the top right corner, you can see a picture of what Chinese roast pork looks like. On the bottom is what he did in jade carvings. It's a lot of detailed work. So it's important to have a material that can help you illustrate what you're trying to make. But there's also a lot of craftsmanship that needs to be done, like the surfacing of it, the polishing, all of this detail comes together with the design.
呢啲海鮮啦，我都係按照佢嘅顏色似乜我就做乜啦，有蟹啦、蝦啦、龍蝦啦同埋鮑魚。
Here we have more of Mr. Law's jade carving works. The topic here is seafood, and you'll see crabs, lobsters, prawns, abalone. All of this is using different natural colors, which I must say, like, all of this is natural. There's no artificial coloring in any of his work. Using different colors of jade to illustrate what it can be.
雞包啦，因為佢個顏色同豬仔包好相近，咁我就設計咗做豬仔包。咁做咗出嚟都好多人中意。
This one is a crispy bun. It's a typical bread that we eat over here for breakfast and lunch. It takes a lot of skill to turn the raw material into this kind of design in the end. 曲
奇餅啊、餅乾啊，咁我都係按照佢嘅顏色似乜我就做乜啦。做咗出嚟好多小朋友都好中意，都仲問食唔食得嘅。咁我就好少少同佢講，如果你唔怕咬崩牙，你就試下啦。
So this one here we have biscuits made from jade. Again, we get to see how creative Mr. Law is. He makes this sound very easy, where he's just looking at the raw material and he knows what to do with it. But I can assure you that this is not easy. Like, to be able to come up these sort of designs and also to pair it with the right workmanship to turn the raw material into something like what you see right now in front of you is very special kind of work.
我用不同嘅顏色就做咗呢一套月餅啦。
Here we have a moon cake. It's a special delicacy that Chinese people have during the month of December. Oh, no, sorry, the month of September. On the top right, I have an example for you of how it looks like. And in here, mainly, we can see Mr. Law using different colors of jade to illustrate for different kinds of designs.
真係成件都係黑色嘅石頭，咁我就做咗呢隻雞咯。
This one is the black chickens. It's actually the black chicken is something that's originally came from Asia, this side of the continent, something we use commonly in our soups. So again, Mr. Law did this, and it just looks very, very exact like what you see in the picture. I'm not sure if you can tell like which one is the jade and which one is the food.
呢一件係利用佢嗰個幾種顏色，咁有水草啊，有魚啊，咁樣分即係將個顏色分得好清咧，就感覺係好靚啦。
So this one is a different style of work, probably the more typical kind that you may see if you ever search for jade carvings. It's considered a very high quality piece of work. What's special about it, first of all, one thing to mention is that it's one whole piece of jade. It's that's done together. So it's not different pieces glued together. It's actually coming from one raw material where you continuously work on it and create the different gaps and holes into it to in the end come up with this kind of design. Another thing that's very special about this is the color of using the natural jade colors to develop further your design. So where you see the green parts, so use it as the seaweed, the whiter parts, so use it as the body of the fish, like that. So this is very common where we use color and the shape of the raw material to come up with a very unique design.
呢啲就係設計師嘅設計啦。咁佢用不同嘅碎料組合而成嘅一套設計作品啦。
So this design here is where fascia in more modern contemporary way. The grading of the fascia here is quite good. You know, the translucency level is good. The color is very vibrant. So overall, this is considered a very good design piece.
呢一件就係葫蘆啦，有啲包珠啦，我哋見到，咁佢組合而成啦。呢個就係攞咗第2大獎嘅福祿葫蘆啦。
Another design competition award piece. This one here uses red jade, which is quite rare because a lot of it's very rare to find red colored jade, and also ones which are usable in jewelry making is also not very common.
呢件又係組合嘅，有唔同嘅顏色，咁攞咗呢個優異獎啦。
So here we have another modern contemporary design using 2 different jade colors into it.
呢個我哋就利用一對圓珠嚟砌做成呢一個作品，呢個係第1大獎星。
So this one here is also design competition winning piece. It uses jade beads with colored diamonds as its design, and it's been awarded the first prize in its category.
我呢一個仲有2種顏色，第3大獎啦，有一隻青蛙啦，有玻璃種嘅肉啦喺個肚度啦，有啲綠色嘅包珠啦，同埋有啲葉啦，同埋一個馬蹄蓮啦嘅組合啦，雨後清新。
So this one is quite special also because it uses the jade as the tummy of the frog. It's also got different color jade for contrasting in the design. It's got pearls and diamonds. It's another awarding piece into the competition. Yeah.
呢個就係設計師設計嘅，我就幫佢製作嘅。咁有用2件玉石嘅組合嚟做啦，跟住用啲金啦，有少少難度，因為玉石吸咗出嚟做之後，仲要套翻落去，又要套得咁吻合咧，係要好長時間去做。
So this piece here, I believe, was designed by one of the Loop residence designers. It was actually created by Mr. Law to help, he helped the student to make this. The student came up with the design and Mr. Law did the craftsmanship. What's difficult here is that the orange jade cap is actually separate from the ring body jade itself. So the difficulty was to make a very good fitting with the yellow jade sitting perfectly on top of the green jade. 咁大家睇到嘅就係屬於我自己嘅設計同生產嘅產品啦。咁佢嘅款式路線都會以幾何形式為主，簡單設計風格啦，令到啲貨品可以容易啲日常佩戴咁樣嘅。So this you see right now here are items designed by me for my brand. The style is more towards more modern, simple, minimal, centered mostly using geometric shapes. 咁同頭先嘅例子一樣，都係同一類型風格嘅首飾設計產品啦，咁樣。So again, similar to the design style previous, this is more about turning jade into a modern style jade accessory, something that can be worn fashionably and worn easily every day.
因為我哋玉器嘅製作主要都係按材施藝啦，尤其是你製作好一件好嘅玉器，有人欣賞咧，你就會好開心嘅。仲有譬如而家我哋係2021年嘅製作，可能50年後或者100年後，啲人就睇翻原來係呢個年代嘅製作，呢個係我哋嘅歷史證明。我亦都希望呢一個玉雕嘅技術或者設計師嘅設計可以傳承落去，一代一代咁傳承落去咯。所以我好用心，如果有人想學，我都好用心教佢哋，希望我哋嘅玉器行業繼續傳承落去，同埋有人欣賞，自己又開心，能夠做到生意就更加好添啦。
So Mr. Law has some final words to wrap up for everybody. So being creative is very important. As he said, every design piece that you create at a certain time, at a certain point in time, represents that moment in your life. It could be something that you did 10 years ago or 5 years ago, but it stays like that forever, even as time goes on. It's something truly unique, which he absolutely loves, and he's always very open to teaching and to anyone who has questions or want to know more about jade. He's always there to help answer any questions.
今日分享咗到此為止啦，多謝大家。
Okay, so this wraps up our jade talk for today. Thank you everyone for being here with us. We're now going to move on to the Q&A session. 咁呢一度咧都多謝大家喺嚟到呢一度嘅時間。咁我哋而家咧就會去我哋嘅問答嘅階段啦。咁如果有問題想問嘅朋友咧，就可以喺個chat room 嗰度咧打佢嘅問題出嚟。咁我哋阿羅會長咧佢就會盡量答㗎啦。
好多謝頭先有會長同我哋分享關於玉石方面嘅一啲嘅知識啦，同埋一啲佢嘅歷史啊，甚至應用啊，或者工藝上嘅好多分享。咁我哋頭先咧話嚟到呢個 Q&A 環節啦，咁我相信都大家可能有啲問題，我見到 chat box 度已經係急不及待有幾位觀眾咧就留咗言俾我哋噶啦。咁好啦，咁我首先用翻中文先啦，我哋陣間再用翻英文去翻譯翻俾其他線上嘅朋友。咁觀眾嘅 George 就問到咧，會長啊，咁如果玉器首飾方面咧，有冇可能咧做到工業化嘅量產，同埋點樣去控制同埋統一啲顏色同埋質素咧？
因為同一個 size 啊，咁上下嘅質量係可以，但係如果你要求一模一樣咧，就好難啊個顏色。但係如果你接受到佢嗰個色差，可以大批量生產嘅，因為玉嘅原材料仲係有嘅。
So just to recap in English, the question that was asked is, can jade jewelry products be mass produced, produced in large quantities? The answer which Mr. Law provided is that to a certain extent, it is achievable. And what we mean by that is there's no exact same material by color, but you can achieve the exact same size. So consumers, to an extent, have to appreciate and understand this. Just like with amber, there are no same piece over and over again, but what you can do is to confine it into a same size and mass produce it in this aspect.
好，唔該晒會長同 Eric。咁有第二條問題啊，C Chan 嘅，咁就喺翡翠入邊嘅水頭咧，其實呢個口語化我哋叫水頭啦，係叫咩意思咧？同埋我哋究竟係點樣用肉眼啊去分辨到究竟真同埋假嘅玉器係要點樣去分佢真定假咧？會長嘅請係。
水頭嘅意思即係打磨嗰個反射嘅意思啦。如果你話嗰個水去到邊度咧，就係打燈去到嗰個幾多寸啊，或者幾多分啊，咁樣為之幾多嗰個水分去到邊度咯。所以水頭同水分係有兩樣嘢嚟嘅。變咗咧，我就兩樣都答你先啦，因為我水頭就係打磨嘅反光度立令為之水頭。如果係嗰個水分咧，就係打燈射落去有幾深咁為之水分。
Okay, so let me just recap this for the English speakers here. The question asked was actually something specific to a Chinese classification or a name in describing jade. So it was really talking about the polishing or the translucency level of jade. And a lot of the times in Chinese, we actually describe the jade in reference to it being like water, because water is very translucent. So sometimes we say, is this piece of jade watery enough? And what we're really referring to is the translucency level and also the polishing level with the jade.
唔該晒會長嘅解答同埋 Eric 翻譯。咁都係觀眾 George 嘅提問嚟嘅。第三條問題，咁其實而家香港嗰度咧有冇啲專門嘅院校咧，或者可能學府啦，去教授呢個玉雕㗎，去教人哋學呢個玉雕嘅工藝？
啦，玉雕，如果普通製作玉器嗰啲簡單嗰啲咧就會有嘅，譬如戒指啊、蛋面啊嗰啲可能都仲有，但係玉雕嚟講就認知就冇啦。但係有啲朋友啊想學嘅，我都會私人教佢哋咯，呢啲就唔多咯，即係有人會跟我學嘅啫，而家都。
So the question asked was, in Hong Kong, whether there were courses where somebody could go and learn how to do jade carvings. The answer to this is, I think with jade carving, we're not quite certain. However, though, we do know there are courses that teach jade polishing or simple jade shaping. So the difference between shaping and carving is where you're actually doing a lot of detailed work, but shaping could be where you make simple ring, simple smooth geometric surfaces. So something like those, there are already courses, I think with the Ivy or with further education organizations in Hong Kong, there are those available right now already.
好，唔該晒會長同 Eric。咁有位觀眾 Stephanie 啦 ，Stephanie Tam 啊，第四條問題就問到玉會唔會好容易碎咗爛咗咁樣㗎？
碎咗爛咗可以重新設計過嘅啫嘛，按住佢嘅爛嘅程度點樣去設計咯。好，咁我哋香港都有好多設計師㗎嘛，佢哋可以幫到手嘅。
Question from Stephanie. The disadvantage of jade is it the question is jade very easy to break?
Yeah.
The answer. So the answer is that it shouldn't be that easy to break because by definition the hardness is very high. It's just below diamonds. It's a very hard gemstone.
How about amber?
Amber is much softer. So amber is a number 2, I think, hardness, but jade is 7. So that's actually a very far difference.
Yeah.
好，請繼續。好 ，Stephanie 係咪又可以繼續問問題？啱啱會長同 Eric 都解答咗。咁其實玉就個摩氏硬度咧就比較硬啲嘅，去到7嘅。咁頭先你啱啱問到就如果琥珀咧就有大概2啊2點幾咁樣啦。咁相對嚟講其實玉石啦同翡翠比較硬身啲，就比較難啲去打爛嘅。咁會長都有個好建議啦，即係如果爛咗嘅話，其實都可以揾到其他嘅設計師啊，咁去再重新為啲碎件咧去做咗一個重新 design， 因為都係一個唔同嘅 pieces 啦，即係唔同嘅碎件，其實都可以做到唔同好美麗嘅作品出嚟嘅。好，唔該晒 Stephanie 先。好啦，咁有第5位觀眾朋友咧叫 Victor， 咁佢就想問會長啦，咁嚟緊香港嘅玉器市場嘅價值咧，或者係玉器喺香港嘅市場定位，或者應該點樣發展咧？即係玉石方面。
發展就如果雕刻嘅發展，主要都而家喺國內嗰度噶啦。如果香港做嘅，我相信都係要做啲比較簡單啊，做啲光身啊設計為主。因為雕刻你要花好長時間去學習，你冇3、5、7年都好難即係做得好嘅工藝出嚟。所以主要發展都係設計嗰方面啦。
To recap that question, we had Victor who asked about the outlook, business outlook, or the development of the jade market, and how do we see where things are going. So Mr. Law, his answer to this was that in terms of jade carvings, that sort of work, there's a lot of opportunities to explore that because there's a lot of places to learn and a lot of places to develop this skill set. But whereas in Hong Kong, the amount of resources is much less. Mostly, we would say probably steer towards using designs that are probably more simple, more to do with the materials, like that. Yeah.
好啦，唔該晒會長同你剛才就第5條問題未來發展，即係玉器未來發展嘅解答。咁線上嘅朋友仲有冇其他問題想問啊會長？咁啱啱咧我都見到條問題，咁呢條咧原來係問阿 Eric 嘅。咁 Eric 啊，你作為一個年輕嘅玉器 Jade 嘅專業設計師啦，咁或者你對未來嘅發展方向 development 上面有啲咩嘅 expectation， 可唔可以同我哋分享下都？
呢個問題都問得幾好啊！咁喺年輕人之中啦，關於玉器行業嘅發展，我會覺得其實都好可以注重翻多啲關於設計嘅。咁設計點樣去發展，就要睇你每一個人選擇嘅路線啦。你可以選擇係做大眾嘅設計，定因為你係選擇做一啲高端 one piece 獨一無二嘅設計。咁你都要可能要諗就係你自己嘅風格係邊啲啦，你可以接觸到嘅物料有啲咩，而你嘅對象亦都係想揾啲咩人，你去針對啲咩市場去做呢一啲設計，所有嘢加埋都會影響你嘅發展啦。咁喺我即係我只能夠講關於多啲我自己嘅背景先，因為其實我覺得其他人點樣發展係一個你自己揀嘅路線嚟嘅。咁我自己即係好彩就係因為屋企本身有少少關於翡翠嘅背景，可以令到我對好多原材料都可以接觸到啦。咁我自己希望做到嘅嘢咧，就係希望將翡翠市場擴大，去將佢接觸到一啲佢目前暫時未接觸到嘅市場啦。因為始終如果大家睇翻咧，我哋嘅玉器市場都比較集中於喺東南亞、亞洲、中國、內地、香港新加坡、台灣呢幾個市場。咁我自己希望做到嘅嘢咧，就係將翡翠令到佢可以普及化、廣泛咁去到其他西方國家咁樣。咁呢樣我自己嘅目標就會因應呢一種嘅目標而去改我嘅設計，去令到可以令到嗰一類型嘅市場都會吸引到啦。So let me explain the question in English. The question that was asked directly to me was, being a young designer in jade jewelry, how do you see the future? How do you, what kind of suggestions do you have for somebody in this area in terms of working in jewelry design for jade? So in short, my answer to this is that I think it's important to focus on the design, because design is what separates everybody from one another. It's what creates the uniqueness of your work to another person. So take Mr. Law, for example, his work is super unique, okay? So we know design is super important. Now, to develop your career or develop your business, you also want to think about who your targets are. Who are you making your jewelry for? Are you making one-off unique pieces where they can only be made most likely once or twice? Or are you making more for the mass market? All of this you need to consider in your design process, because you can't make something that is super expensive unless you only want to sell it once, or you can't make something that can't be replicated if that's not what you want to do. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, with what I'm doing relative, I can relate this back to my work, is I'm very lucky that I have a background for my family who is working in the jade. So I have access to a lot of different kinds of jade materials. So for me, there was something very clear that I wanted to achieve. And what I wanted to achieve was to open up, create more different opportunities for the jade market. And by that, I mean, I want to reach different markets who aren't already familiar with jade. So such as a lot of the Western cultures are Western markets like Europe, like United States, South America, they're not familiar with jade. And what I want to solve is this. I want to make designs and products that will attract these markets. So that's how I approach this, and that's how I decide how I make my designs. So I hope this is a good way of answering what the question was to you. Thank you.
唔該晒 Eric 啊，都非常詳細解答。咁我哋剛才都就會長同埋 Eric 咧，我哋口中得知道，咁其實係玉器喺將來嘅發展上面啦，都係無論香港又好啊，亞洲又好咧，都係着重係喺 design 嘅層面上，或者咁呢樣嘢係最學 Eric 話齋可以令到件事可以帶到去其他地方嘅市場上邊啦，令到無論玉器嘅工藝啊，或者係當代嘅一啲玉器嘅發展上可以更加普及化嘅。咁 OK 好啊，咁我哋翻去現場啦。咁 chat box 嗰度仲有啲觀眾有幾多提問想問阿羅會長啊？如果冇嘅時候，咁好啦，咁我哋好多謝會長啦，今日為我哋分享咗好多關於喺玉器啊、玉石方面嘅一啲好寶貴嘅知識啦。咁令到我哋對於關於玉石方面嘅種類咧，就加深咗好多我哋嘅認知啦。咁嚟緊咧，我哋就會去到我哋嘅差唔多去到我哋講咗尾聲咧。咁我哋喺完之前，但係我哋想請翻有兩位嘉賓想為我哋宣佈翻某啲嘢。咁咧而家咧就我想請翻我哋嘅Group Project Director 啦，我哋即係Loop 嘅 Fanny 姐為我哋預告翻我哋嚟緊思年項目嘅一啲嘅未來嘅動向。
呢度都係再次感謝啦 Amber Extract 嘅Mr Michael 啦，同埋香港玉器商會羅會長啦，對大家俾一啲咁詳盡嘅有關琥珀同埋玉石嘅資料啦，同埋知識啦。咁今次咧，我哋除咗設計師之外咧，咁仲有好多院校嘅學生收看嘅嚇。咁希望期待佢哋啦，可以活用唔同嘅材料啦，去製作出呢啲特別嘅首飾。咁喺呢度咧，我哋好多謝琥珀協會嘅Miss Alicia 啦，佢喺2018年喺 Loop 成立嗰陣時咧，一直都好支持我哋嘅。咁喺2019年2月啦，咁Loop 同協會一齊舉辦咗一個推廣琥珀嘅展覽，叫 High Five 啦，咁就得到好好嘅迴響。咁令我哋留下一個好深刻嘅印象咧，就係佢哋由呢個兒童開始咧，就開始就係推廣一啲琥珀嘅宣傳嘅啦，咁當日領事先生都有出席嘅。咁之後喺2019年底啦 ，Alicia 咧就更加透過 Loop 啦，就同呢個國內同埋周大福啦，就推廣呢個琥珀嘅原料。咁佢推廣嘅熱誠咧就不遺餘力嘅嚇。
Let me get this part in English for Ms. Fanny's speech. So thank you, Mr. Michael Kosior, and Mr. Roger Kong for your presentation. We can't wait to see more designer will come good use of these materials like in amber and jade. In addition, I would like to thank Ms. Alicia Kelly from Artist Member Limited. She has been supporting development of Loop since the establishment in 2018. In February of 2019, Loop cooperated with International Amber Association to promote the Amber exhibition, High Five. They started to promote to the children, and the council was also present to the event. It received a lot of positive feedbacks. And after that, at the end of 2019, Ms. Alicia Kelly tried to promote amber and raw material via rates Loop to Chow Tai Fook in China region.
個敦煌項目咧，個藝術性好吸引啦，咁就好適合推廣呢個琥珀。咁於是咧，我哋就一齊咧就洽談合作呢個項目啦。咁我哋 Loop 咧有10幾位嘅香港海外嘅設計師參加，咁中國嗰度咧都有6位嘅國際即係6位嘅國內嘅設計師一齊參加嘅。咁我哋更加邀請咗香港玉器商會羅會長啦，就贊助我哋啲翡翠嘅原料嘅嚇。
Kelly was inspired that the Dunhuang project of Louvre was artistically attractive and suitable for the promotion for Baltic Amber. So we started to negotiate into this project. In this project, we have anonymous of Louvre designers and anonymous of Polish designers, and even though in designers from mainland of China. Also, even invited Mr. Roger Kong, the president of the Hong Kong Jade Association, to sponsor the raw materials of jade for this development. It was originally planned to start the On-Time exhibition in March 2021 this year, but due to the epidemic situation, the European side will postpone the exhibition date. And also in Asia, Loop will arrange the exhibition at the Hong Kong International Jewelry Fair in November, and we hopefully successfully arrange it in Shenzhen, China. And it may also be planned to the exhibition in Shanghai, Beijing, Xi'an, and other regions of China. So now it is better space to promote our poly designers and our Louvre designers doing the plan and development of the On-Time exhibition. 好啦，咁好多謝 Fanny 姐啦，啱啱位於我哋思年嘅呢個 project 打序幕啦。咁嚟緊咧，其實都想請翻Miss Alicia Kelly 為我哋講翻幾句係關於敦煌呢個project 一啲嘅 review 嘅。So thank you, Miss Fanny, for the glimpse of the On-Time project and the projection development, and thank you for the words and the engagement in this project. Now we are welcoming Miss Alicia Kelly to having a speech and brief introduction about the On-Time project from Poland side. Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
I think we can all agree that the seminar has been extremely interesting and taking away with you. So what inspired the entire exhibition? Well, I've been very fortunate to be able to work together with Fanny, Chow Tai Fook, and the team at Loop to realize an idea that's been growing for some time to combine several loves and particular interests of mine. My love of amber, which is really part of my Polish heritage. My love of living in Hong Kong and its roots to China and jade. My love of history and reflecting on the connections between Poland and China through the trading of amber via the Great Silk Road. And lastly, but not least, my love of working with young designers who are the future of design. I hope that this project has inspired them to think of ancient historical stones and bring them into modern contemporary design. Coordinating with friends and colleagues in Poland, it's been an equal pleasure to liaise with Professor Fiałkowski and Michał Kosior, and also Stellarium Amber Mine. entwined as an opportunity to show the world what our young designers are capable of. And Professor Sławek Kwiatkowski, Michael Kosior, and the rest of the Polish team have plans to show the exhibition at various venues and trade fairs throughout Europe, in Gdańsk, Munich, and Milan to begin with. So we will be setting up a social media platform that will allow you to stay in the loop with information regarding various venues, which just now just seem to be in the habit of changing due to the COVID-19 situation. Our aim, however, is to ensure that the work of all our designers attains optimum exposure. So we are continuing to work towards showing their designs to trade and public alike. Thank you everyone who's helped to make my dream come true. And my very best wishes to all the designers for your continuing success. Your designs are truly innovative. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair Kelly. Thank you for your words. And I would like to do the recap in Chinese, so I mean the audience will know the words that the blessing from Mr. Alicia Kelly. 好啦，咁我就而家用中文同大家翻譯翻頭先剛才Mr. Alicia Kelly 一啲嘅對話啦。咁佢就話其實今次呢個成件事可以發生咧，即係思年呢個 project 可以發生咧，佢非常之多謝Fanny 姐啊，或者周大福背後嘅團隊等等嘅。其實今次佢對於今次呢個我哋啱啱剛才講座咧，就覺得非常之有趣嘅內容，好豐富嘅。咁令到帶到好多新嘅信息俾我哋大家啦，同埋線上朋友啦。咁究竟係有乜嘢會激發到即係呢個靈感碰撞，會帶出咗思年呢個 project 出嚟俾大家咧？咁其實之前Alicia 咧就同Fanny同埋同 Luke 嘅團隊已經係有初步嘅未實體之前已經有一段時間諗法係關於呢個即係東西嘅交流喺玉器同琥珀上面一啲交流想法。咁佢覺得呢個想法同埋結合咧，就有啲好特別嘅嘢會走出嚟啦。咁其實對於Alicia 嚟講咧，佢好熱愛琥珀嘅，因為佢覺得 Amber 呢啲波羅的海琥珀咧係佢哋波蘭嘅遺產嘅一部分。咁而且佢對於基於佢對香港嘅生活，喺香港生活過啦，佢咁香港熱愛啦，咁佢亦都好中意玉器啦，同埋中國啦。咁亦都基於佢對呢個歷史以前古代嘅文化熱愛啦。咁佢亦都知道以前係通過絲綢之路啦，咁琥珀亦都係經過絲絲綢之路嚟同咗亞洲有個聯繫啦。咁佢都覺得基於呢三樣嘢，佢對琥珀啦、對香港、對 Jade， 甚至對佢歷史呢三樣嘅熱愛咧，就令佢誕生咗今次嘅思年項目嘅一個初步嘅一個共識。咁佢亦都係想提到係其中一個點咧，就係話佢好中意同年輕設計師合作嘅，因為佢哋覺得咧年輕嘅設計師咧嘅帶出嚟嘅嘢係會將來係設計行業嘅一啲嘅未來。咁佢亦都希望咧今次思年呢個項目啦，咁可以激發到佢哋對於一啲咁歷史悠久嘅寶石係將佢哋帶入去啲好 contemporary 現代嘅 design 入邊咧，係非常之有趣嘅。咁同埋佢亦都想再次鳴謝翻佢今次同波蘭嘅朋友或者啲同事合作啦，包括 Kwiatkowski 教授啦、Michael Kosior 啦，同埋頭先嗰個 Amber Mine 嗰個 contract Stellarium Amber Mine， 咁佢哋一直喺度 work 得好 close 咧，咁佢非常之榮幸嘅。咁亦都佢想透過剛才嘅對話咧，想話俾你聽，思年呢個項目咧係一個向全世界展示我哋無論我哋香港中國或甚至可能係波蘭嗰邊咧，係一啲年輕設計師一個展示佢哋能力嘅機會嚟嘅。包括好似 Kwiatkowski 教授啦、Michael Kosior 啦，同埋波蘭其他團隊啦，或者波蘭嘅設計師咧，佢哋亦都計劃諗住會喺呢個思年嘅項目成品完成之後咧，會喺歐洲嘅唔同場地或者展館咧，包括有慕尼黑、Munich、米蘭、Milan 同埋格坦斯克波蘭嘅一個好大嘅城市，去舉行翻一個巡迴嘅展覽。咁但係由於因為疫情嘅關係啦，咁最終暫時可能而家會延遲咗少少嘅，但係唔緊要嘅。佢哋都會將係呢啲係好多唔同嘅資訊啦，或者嚟緊亦都會喺唔同嘅社交平台咧，係會同大家 update 翻關於思年項目喺歐洲方面嘅展覽嘅消息嘅。咁亦都希望啦，呢啲咁嘅 design 咧，亦都係得到最好嘅最佳嘅展示成果，帶到俾大家睇嘅。咁亦都佢會更加努力喺無論喺商貿上文化交流上咧，會更加繼續努力咧，係令到呢個項目可以繼續蓬勃嘅發展嘅。咁 咁佢亦都好多謝所有令到今次思年可以成功發生嘅人啦。咁希望亦都好衷心祝願翻各位嘅設計師咧，可以繼續努力嘅進步啦，喺設計上或者其他領域上咧繼續努力，因為咧你哋嘅設計師，你哋嘅創意咧係最真實嘅、最真實嘅創意嘅。好多謝晒。好啦，咁多謝晒 Fanny 姐同埋Alicia 啦。Thank you, Miss Fanny and Miss Alicia for the speech.